Good evening.
Good evening.
The July 24th, 2018 meeting of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order, and we are pleased to have Chief Scott Spencer here with us this evening to lead us in our invocation. And after the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Let us pray. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight, Lord. We just thank you for the blessings that you've given us. We thank you for the privilege you've given us to vote. Lord, I just ask that you heal our country of the divisiveness that it's been in. Bring us together. Lord, we're all Americans, and we thank you for that. Lord, bless this commission as they take part of the county's business into consideration tonight, Lord. Just be with them, help them to make decisions that would be pleasing to you. Give them wisdom and guidance, give them discernment, and do what's best for the county, Lord. Again, Lord, we thank you for the blessings you've given us. Continue to be with us and forgive us of our sins. And it's in your Son's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief Spencer, for being here this evening, leading us in our invocation. And good evening once again to the citizens of Douglas County. We are delighted that you have joined us, and we appreciate your participation in county government. Public comment. Clerk, do we have public comment tonight?
Yes, ma'am. You have the list in front of you.
Okay. I have a list here, at least the list of 25 citizens. And before I call your name, I would like to say we respect our citizens' rights to address their government in this meeting. However, as the chair, I intend to enforce our 3-minute rule in order for this meeting to run efficiently and effectively. I will ask the clerk to set the timer so you'll hear the little buzzer go off. Just to be respectful, I ask you to, if you could, wrap your sentence up when you hear the buzzer go off. Once you reach your sentence, the floor will be taken back by me, and please remember that your comments tonight must be, by rule, must be limited to things that are germane to this agenda. Please avoid campaigning or personal attacks against personnel or officials, which should be handled in another forum other than a body such as this. Our first citizen tonight is Ursula Foul. Please come forward and give us your address, and your subject matter is vote for transportation. So if you could just please, and you, just to remind everyone, you have 3 minutes, okay? 3 minutes to speak. Okay.
Well, good evening to all of the counselors, Chair, County Commissioners. Good evening. Thank you guys so much. I got a little tongue-tied, I'm tired. Thank you so much for hearing my voice. My name is Ursula Foul.
Oh, you get ready to say it. Okay.
My name is Ursula Foul. I live at 7356 Hillview Court in Douglasville, Hunters Ridge subdivision. And I'm asking that you vote in favor and accept the transportation grant for several reasons. It will allow our citizens in and throughout our community to obtain mobility stability, as well as it will be assistive to have transportation so that the citizens that I assist with disabilities to obtain stable mobility transfer to and from their destinations wherever their travel plans are. It makes them more efficient. I currently work for Strides Horse Park, and we assist people with disabilities to obtain and maintain employment, and some of them, that's the only employment they have. This will also allow the citizens to be able to have more than one way to and from work if they do not work in this wonderful county. I came here 13 years ago, and I worked for MARTA for 16 years, and the only transportation that I had was my vehicle. But if my vehicle had ever went down or something, I would no longer have transportation, and I would not be able to sustain my property that I have. And I think it will assist with also helping to eliminate the congestion problem that most of us face when we have to go to and from work. And I worked about 55 minutes away from here. So MARTA always promoted green air campaign, and it was very efficient. So it helped with the smog and all of the congestion that everybody driving their vehicles do, have. So I think that this will be a good thing to allow transportation mobility services in and throughout our community. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Ms. Fouch. We will certainly take this matter under advisement. Next, we have Raphael Fouch. Please give us state your name again, your address, and your subject matter, please.
Hello, my name is Raphael Fouch, and I live on 7356 Hillview Court, Hunters Ridge. I'm the co-founder for Stride Horse Park Teams, Inc. I have transported over 300 people with a disability and no transportation to and from work to help them obtain and maintain their employment. Please allow the transportation grant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Raphael. We appreciate your participation in county government, and we'll take this matter under advisement. Raven Fouch.
Hello, my name is Raven Fouch. I live at 7356 Hillview Court, Hunters Ridge, in Hunters Ridge, and I ask that you vote in favor or accepting the transportation grant to several reasons, because I'm a job coach at Stride Horse Park, Inc., and I have job coached over multiple clients, and they really don't have transportation, so I would really appreciate if there was transportation provided for them in this community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raven. We will take this matter under advisement, and I thank you for participating in county government. And Frank Virgil, is it Virgil? I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Good evening. My name is Frank Virgil. I'm at 4982 Gulf Valley Court in Douglasville, and I ask that you vote in favor of the transportation system. As we're taught from an early age that we're supposed to do the best we can, and when politicians run for office, they promise that they would do the best they can. So I'm thinking that this opportunity to have buses would be something that Douglasville needs. We have young kids that don't have transportation. The high-rise cost of insurance should be one of the number one reasons. We got high cost of insurance. We do the air quality, the traffic and all that. It would seem to be eliminated somewhat if we had some sort of buses. So we can be more efficient by taking advantage of every means of transportation we have. So, it's like on the improved air quality, reduced traffic, public transportation, it promotes equality. It permits people that cannot drive, cannot afford a car, can't do the insurance to get around. It benefits the economy by helping us to get out and spend money. Our youth who have jobs, some have no way of getting to the job except by walking or bicycling. We should come to the 21st century and start to come up with the standards. We used to have telegraph, telephone, Western Union, FedEx, cell phone, computers, internet, Facebook, Twitter, and just because some people don't use them don't make it not better. Some people are stuck in the past, and I know there are a lot of people that don't use computers still. My dad used to work for the railroad, and we used to have to walk 9 miles to get to a destination to buy things. And so now we have an opportunity to, like I'm 70 years old, if I don't want to drive, for exercise reason, I could walk to the bus stop, catch a bus, get to the store and all that, but it seems like for some reason, we just want to be, I don't know, not everybody, but we want to be stuck back, So we came up from the Pony Express, we came up, railroads, planes, trains, stage coaches and all that. Now we got planes, we got everything that we need to get around, and now we have an opportunity to have it, so I think that we should vote for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Virgil. We'll take this matter under advisement as well. I have a couple of names scratched out, so I'm assuming they did not want to speak. Next, we have Ms. Heather Dennis. Ms. Dennis, would you please come forward and give us your name, your address again, and then also your subject matter. On your subject matter tonight, it has to be germane to the agenda. The buses are, but the respect piece is not. So if we could just focus on buses, I would appreciate it.
No problem. My name is Heather Dennis. I live at 8191 Bakes Mill Road. For many months now, the citizens of Douglas County have come before you repeatedly with information from meetings, videos, public records obtained that give reason for concern for unlawful and/or unethical behavior by this board as pertaining to the proposed bus system. Time and again, we have been told that the matter would be taken under advisement and that research would be completed on your end to get to the truth. We sit here today on the cusp of a vote by you all, our elected officials, still without a response to our concerns. Yes, we are angry, and that anger is well-founded. Not only do the public records support wrongdoing, but these elected officials that we are to respect haven't shown us the respect to do what they said they would. First by leading with integrity and transparency, and now by not giving the issue at hand the attention it warrants. Where is the respect in that? Something that has nagged me consistently over the past months, while I and many others have spent countless hours and dollars challenging this very group who are elected into office to serve us, is that all of this could have ended months ago with one simple action. Why has this board not provided documentation to refute our claims that would support your actions and would put this whole debacle to bed? The fact that you haven't done so only causes me and the citizens of this county to wonder if you can provide the documentation, thereby dwindling respect for those in office, not the office.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dennis. We will certainly take this matter under advisement again. Next, we have Madeline, is it Madeline Hubbard? Madeline, okay. Madeline, please come forward and restate your name and give us your address and your subject matter tonight, please.
My name is Madeline Hubbard, and my address is 7222 Cedar Forest Drive, Douglasville, Georgia, and that is the subdivision of Cedar Place. And I am here to address the transportation issue. I don't call it a bus, I call it a van. I did have an opportunity as one of the early persons to ride the van to see the routes, and I can tell you as a van rider of Douglas County from Douglasville to Emory, 1525 Clifton Road, which was a long route, this van would really be much better. I am coming on behalf of my grandson who is here with me tonight. He is a senior at Douglas County High School. And he is also 3.3 average. I am so blessed for that. But he has a job, 2 jobs at Arbor Mall. He does not own a car. But it would be good because now that he is a senior, they will get out of school early in order for him to go to the mall, which is maybe, a couple of miles away. He would be able to get transportation if I'm not available. His parents do work. I'm his grandmother, and I am a pastor, and my schedule don't fit his schedule all the time. So I am in agreement with the van, and I didn't just move here. I am actually a native of Douglas County, Douglasville, Georgia. And so I walked from Forest Avenue to band practice at Douglas County High School, which was a long walk for us way back in the day. So I'm not as young as I look, but I'm thankful that I'm here. But I do believe that this will really benefit our students, and that's who I'm standing on behalf of the students who do not have transportation, and the parents can't get off from work or get them to the jobs that they have at the mall, and I'm just pleased that they're working. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Hubbard. Okay, and we'll take this matter into advisement as well. Linda R. Pope, is Ms. Pope here? Hi, Ms. Pope, come forward and give us your just name again and your address and just your subject matter,
Okay.
please.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Linda Robinson Pope, and I reside at 3321 Jessica Drive, Douglasville, and 30135. I've been a native, well, not native, I've been living here for 33 years in the community, and I also work with New Mountaintop Baptist Church in the missions department, and I'm speaking in favor of the bus transportation, the vans, or things that might come from that with a grant, because my family and the church would benefit from transportation. We work with people who don't have cars, who can't get around the city, who have to go downtown, and we try to assist them as best we can, but it is very difficult, and they would like to be able to maneuver or to be independent, and to be able to ride the bus themselves without waiting or asking for transportation would be very advantageous to them and for their growth and for their careers. Also, transportation back and forth would be good because Douglas County would benefit, because there would be industry brought in. The Riverside Drive area is and where the Red Cross is around that area is booming, and people are trying to have jobs there, but they're having trouble getting back and forth. And so just in summary, we think that if we could get more transportation, that we could help many, many people, many of our citizens, to have better jobs and a career. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Pope. We'll take this matter under advisement as well. Next, we have Mr. Larry Pierce. Mr. Pierce, please come forward. Restate your name and then address and then your subject matter, please. And it is germane to the agenda. It's number 18. It's the one that you're speaking of.
Name is Larry Pierce, 4120 Van Sant Road, Douglasville, Georgia. Well, everybody wants to talk about how long they've been here. Well, I guess I'll blow my horn too. I've been here 50 years. Moved out here when I was 25. And this morning when I got up, I could see real good. But I think for some reason I've got blurred vision because, Madam Chair, you got a red dress on, and it sure would go with my hat.
Hey, don't forget the little
Well,
extra.
we appreciate it, and it might be that the British are coming.
Yes.
Now, I'm going to say one or two things about the buses. Everybody's forgetting about who pays for these buses. Let me tell you something. For you people that's working, it's called taxpayers, okay? Now, buses are well and good, and I remember when I was going to high school, there wasn't hardly any buses, but we got them now. So, I don't want buses because we don't need them. Now, we do need buses to help the people get around as far as who's a senior citizen. And I've been a senior citizen for a few years, and I'm going to keep being one if y'all will let me. Now, what I want to talk about now, though, is the coroner. Now, we've got a serious problem here. The coroner has already hired somebody to take Mr. Rogers' place, and his name is Womack. And of course, the first thing I did is check it out. Is he related to the ex-police chief, Womack? No. So get that in your head. The answer is no. But he does live about 25 miles away, and that really is conducive to being a local citizen, isn't it? So the thing about it is that I have a few questions that I couldn't figure out what it was, and then it dawned on me. Because you see, sometimes you don't get the answer right away, and here's the question. The question is, if you hire somebody, like she did, Mrs. Godwin, the coroner, and she puts him in training, is that the smart thing to do? No, it's not. Because you know why it's not? Because you got it on your agenda here. And the agenda is number 18, which means she doesn't have permission to do it yet. And you know why she doesn't have permission to do it yet? Because y'all haven't said so. That part, she's following the law right after I raised the word ain't heaven, but you know what it is. Okay. So the thing about it now is
guess what I learned today? You got to be bonded. Guess how much the bond is? $12,500 that the county pays. So the question is, did you pay the bond before she went to get training? Did she have permission from someone to go get training? It should be, is she here? I don't know if she's here, but Godwin, are you here? Don't see her here. She wasn't here yesterday. She hardly ever shows up. She does show up sometimes at work.
Mr. Pierce.
So the thing I say is that when it comes up tonight, no. It's either bonded or no. Because otherwise, I'm going to keep coming up here like I have for the past year.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you,
Pierce.
and I love your dress.
Thank you. I love your hat. Thank you so much. Mr. Pierce, we'll take this matter under advisement, and legal counsel, I know you heard him. Okay, next we have Ms. Cathy Beverage. Ms. Beverage, please come forward and state your concern, and also will give us your address, and then your subject matter, please.
My name is Cathy Beverage. My address is 5697 Punkintown Road, Douglasville, Georgia. And the subject matter is buses.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether you're a Democrat, Republican, black, white, Hispanic, or a beautiful mixture, all of us make up Douglas County. All of us should care about how our county and our tax dollars are spent. All of us should use common sense regarding fiscal issues in our county. A needs study was performed which does not compare to a feasibility study. I need a Mercedes or I need a mansion with 10 bedrooms and a beautiful pool, but I'm not going to purchase it without knowing the price tags, cost to maintain, and many other variables which would impact my budget. I'm not going to purchase it and expect Douglas County taxpayers to chip in and pay for a luxury that only a finite, extremely small number might benefit. Did you know in 2016 that only 1.5% of Douglas County households do not own a car? That is well above the national average of 4.4%. 20% in Douglas County are one car per household, while 78% own 2 to 5 cars per household. Why is our BOC planning to implement a bus system without knowing the true cost? Why are we considering a vote to purchase something that will surely place an undue burden on the taxpayers of Douglas County? Currently estimated operating cost is available and does not even include vehicle fuel and maintenance cost. Had a feasibility study been done, maintenance and fuel costs would be included, as well as new sidewalk costs, bus shelters at stops, purchasing right-of-ways, additional wear and tear on our already poor condition roads, cost to maintain the bus stop areas. These are just some items that common sense dictates. The experts would undoubtedly have an extended costly list. Why would you buy that Mercedes or that nice mansion without doing your financial homework first? Our needs versus our wants can often get confused. Somewhere along the way, that need for a 2-bus route system has turned into a want for a 4-route bus system that was not properly voted on. I respectfully and prayerfully ask that you vote no to the acceptance of the CMAQ grant, AKA federal tax money, especially when you have no idea of the cost and negative impact to the taxpayers of Douglas County. Let's bring common sense back to the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Beveridge. We'll take this matter under advisement, and I appreciate your participation in county government. Next we have Ms. Barbara J. Smith. Ms. Smith, would you please come forward and state your address and give us your subject matter, please.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Madam Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Barbara Jeanette Smith. I reside in Little Springs, Georgia, 30122. I stand before you and support our ARC grant for transportation. And I choose to refer to the local transit system as 15-passenger vans and not buses. I choose. I come with excitement in my heart, interceding on behalf of those who can no longer drive but desire to have their independency. Those who are walking and inclement weather to 10 miles or more, seeking full-time employment to support their family and those who cannot afford a vehicle and need to work. Now, we who are strong ought to bear the weakness of those without strength and not just please ourselves. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. But many that are first shall be last, and the last first. As a believer, I walk by faith and not by sight. I drove my own vehicle here tonight, but I don't know about tomorrow. I may need help. So we need to support the public transit in Douglas County. Majority of the states, they have some type of transit system. As you know, when the legislation session ended on March 29th, House Bill 930 was passed. As you know, the Georgia House of Representatives passed House Bill 930 by a vote of 162 to 13. Governor Deal signed the bill on May 3rd, and he also allowed $100 million and 10 years in general obligation bonds and the fiscal year of 2018 budget to fund public transit. Ladies and gentlemen, public transit is here whether you agree or disagree. Douglas County can get ahead of the curve with the 15 passenger vans. You will hear many different reports, but which one will you believe? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. We appreciate your participation in county government, and we will take this matter under advisement. Next, we have Mrs. Noby Mitchell and Henry Mitchell V. He's so cute. He's so
Okay, don't start my time yet. I gotta get situated.
He's so cute.
Okay. Madam Chair, Commissioners, good evening.
Good evening.
Planning for the future is critical. Okay. Gotta get him out this. Thank you. Okay. Planning for the future is critical. The baby boom generation is transitioning through life, work, and retirement. People are living longer. First Lady Barbara Bush lived into her 90s. Making sure that there is viable transportation in order for older adults to age in place is critical. The factors associated with aging, of course we know, are economic and medical concerns. You all know someone who's an elder adult who has had to stop driving or who has never driven. Aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, you know someone. According to an article with AARP, aging in place, stuck without options, the dollar amount for the Social Security benefits is quite low and represent a large percentage of low-income retirees, about $10,000 a year. That's probably not the salary of the commissioners or most people in this room. Pew Research Center indicates that about 10,000 baby boomers will cross the threshold of 65 every day for years to come. This will dramatically change the composition of this area, giving individuals the opportunity to shop, go to medical appointments, jobs, ultimately helps their well-being in the future. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, in a few years, if nothing is done, 90% of Metro Atlantans age 65 and older will be living in neighborhoods with little or no access to adequate transportation. Individuals' economic well-being increase dramatically when they have access to cheaper transportation. When looking for a job, help broadens their search
because they do not have to worry about the high cost of transportation. Incomes increase. Individuals tend to spend more when their incomes increase, oftentimes in their own communities. Transportation system is imperative. Connecticut U.S. Representative John Lawson said when speaking at a House session, in part, "Do what is fair for the American people." I would add, do what is right for the citizens of Douglasville and Douglas County, especially those who are elderly, disabled, and those who do not have their own means of transportation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Mitchell. We appreciate your participation in county government, and we'll take this matter under advisement. Next, we have Mr. Jesse Nation. Mr. Nation, please come forward. Mr. Nation, please state your address and your subject matter, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is, to the chairperson and commissioners, my name is Jesse Nation. Reside at 1621 Doris Road, and I'm here to speak in favor of the transit system. And I'd like to say that my 65 years of living here in Douglas County, I have seen this city and county grow exponentially, and with that, I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon in the growth. So I think there's a dire need for this transit system, and I have friends and relatives that I know that would tremendously benefit from this transit system, because one of the things that people need to be productive citizens in this, well, wherever they live, is to have jobs. And I can see this transit system providing that for those people that need the transportation to get to jobs or wherever else they need to go. So I just like to say I think this body has been mandated by the prior commissioners to implement this transit system. So I just ask you to do what has already been approved and put this plan into use, put it into effect, so the citizens of Douglasville and Douglas County can benefit from it. And so if you would, just ask you to do what the public has asked you to do in the past to implement this program. Thank you.
Honey, so much, Mr. Nation. We appreciate your participation in county government, and we will take the matter under advisement. Next, we have Ms. Kelly Honey. Ms. Honey, please come forward and give us your address and your subject matter.
My name is Kelly Honey. I live at 7897 Rio Grande Trail. I've lived here for 12 years. I'm here today to express my opposition of the bus system. I attended the work session yesterday and was utterly disgusted at how the meeting was conducted. The tactics used to confuse and mislead the board is shameful. When there are blatant lies told by commissioners, who are we, the citizens, supposed to trust? It is hard to put into words what I witnessed yesterday, but all I can describe is chaos. I am sure for some of you that is acceptable behavior. I, for one, hold you to a higher standard than that. This bus system has been a cluster since last year. It is obvious that the Transportation Committee has no idea how to orchestrate and plan a bus system. We heard a lot about transparency yesterday, but what I witnessed was anything but transparent. We heard commissioners lie and muddy the waters of an already contentious issue. Putting this vote off does not help the issue, but it only gives the Transportation Committee time to screw this up even worse. I'd like to, comment on some things that have been said. The ATL bill gives us, the citizens, the opportunity to vote for any transportation system that we have in the county through a T-SPLOST. It allows the voices of the citizens to be heard instead of commissioners telling us what we need and how it is now time to get their pet projects fulfilled. Also, allowing a minute percentage of the population to dictate whether we need a bus system does not help the greater good of this county nor any citizen in it. I'm a person that believes in small government and that people should pay their own way. So the bus system is not something that I agree with. But I am also a person that is willing to come to the table and compromise. The original bus system had 2 inter-county routes for the elderly and disabled. That is a system that could be palatable for me and most citizens. What we have now is a gross complication of a simple system. The bad thing is that it continues to change, and you are voting on a system that is not concrete. It is like shooting a moving target. You have a high probability to get it wrong. Let's not get it wrong. Vote to not pass this CMAQ grant. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Honey. I appreciate your participation in county government, and we will take this matter under advisement. Next, we have Ms. Nika Robeson. Please come forward. And Ms. Robeson, just give us your, restate your name and then your address and your subject matter.
Good evening. My name is Nika Robeson. I live at 3055 South Elizabeth Drive. I'm in favor for the transportation grant simply because, as some have already stated, it will provide transportation for those who are disabled and elderly. Douglas County is a growing county, and I've lived here all of my life. I've seen it when we didn't have a mall and how we were excited when we got it. I remember when Chapel Hill High School was built. I remember when New Manchester was finally built. I remember the progression of Douglas County, and I would love to see where it goes from here. I see this as a stepping stone. Where will Douglasville and Douglas County be in 20 years, in 30 years? We need transit. People need to be able to get around, get to the jobs that they have. You want Douglas County to grow and for people to look at Douglas County and move here. What are we offering those who are looking from the outside in? So I vote for in favor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Robeson. We appreciate your participation in county government, and thank you so much. Next, we have, I think this is Nika Robeson? Nika, please, I'm so sorry I mispronounced your name. If you could just state your address and your subject matter, and we have about 3 names left.
Hello, my name is Nika Robeson. I live at 3055 South Elizabeth Drive, and I am in favor of accepting the transportation grant for reasons as many have stated before. First, for the elderly, they need transportation, and for those with disabilities. I also work with Stride Horse Park. I work with the people with disabilities, and I often transport them, some of them myself, but there's so much I can do, and the help would be very much appreciated. And also, I believe for the growth of Douglasville, it will be very helpful, as the person has stated before, my sister, that in the growth of Douglasville, I've been here also all my life. And I mean, God forbid anything happens to anyone. What if we don't have a vehicle and we need to go somewhere, but that's still able to work, but we can't really rely on family or friends to get us from point A to B. And also, yes, I know it may cost money, as others have stated, but just like anything else, I'm sure there's ways that we can find to pay for it. I mean, we pay for our hair and nails, why not? We find money for those things. I'm sure we can find a way to help assist to pay for the transportation for these buses and then keep them up. And to also keep them up is also our responsibility, as the citizens here, to keep them up. maybe say, like, maybe you can pick up the trash, or let them know, don't leave this here, and so on and so forth. And I think my time's up. I mean, I'm in favor for transportation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Robinson. We appreciate your participation in county government. Next, we have Mr. George B. Reedy. Mr. Reedy, are you here? There you are. Mr. Reedy, give us your address and your subject matter. I believe that I'll say it for you, transportation grant. What is your address, Mr. Reedy?
My name is George Reedy.
Mm-hmm.
Live at 5768 Dorset Shoals Road.
Yes, sir.
Bought 10 acres and bought 12 acres and built a house on it 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know why my time's running right now. It hadn't been for everybody else.
Started it when
She'll
you
start
finished
it
your
over. We'll
address.
start it over. I'm not sure why. I'm not keeping the time.
Well, anyway, you're catching me a bit flat-footed because I didn't know y'all's meeting blew completely up last night. That's a crying shame. I got a bunch of questions here that should have been asked, I guess, at the meeting last night where everything blew up. The argument that the elderly need transportation, there's a true and there's a false to that. As quoted a while ago, most everybody here owns a car. Some households have 5 cars. That argument does not hold there. And I got a couple of questions for y'all. Why didn't y'all reject ARC's recommendation for the additional routes, especially revising it from the 2 routes to the 4 routes? Douglas County is not included in the ARC's air issue. We are not included. We can look it up. I already have. We are listed as potential contributors. There's not a single source point contributor in Douglas County. Not one. And that's kept up to date. That's 2018. Atlanta has failed to meet their air quality standards every time they report. In 2018, there was only 1 station reporting that the EPA accepted their conclusions, accepted their study, their data, and that was the fire station in Sandy Springs. Does Atlanta have an air problem? They do. Well, you can see it when you cross Six Flags Hill. That's the county line. We can't solve Atlanta's air problem. If you really want to do something to solve Atlanta's air problem, why don't you subvert some more SPLOST funds and pull a little baby toll road in at every entrance on the freeway? Because that's the only thing that's contributing is the air, the automobile traffic, nothing else. And why did you accept funds from the ARC in the beginning? We are not part of Atlanta's air issue. We can't solve their air issue, and we can't solve their stormwater issues.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Reedy. I appreciate your participation in county government, and we'll take this matter under advisement.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we have Mr. Mike Miller. Mr. Miller, would you please come forward? State your name and your address and your subject matter.
Mike Miller, 8854 Campbellton Street. That's Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. And I'm here to talk about the bus system. Now, I said bus system because I'm here to talk about this bus system. I said bus system because I'm here to talk about this bus system. My concerns are that this bus system was done improperly and prematurely without proper thought, debate, and exploration. For years, I've kind of played on the periphery of politics and didn't understand why governmental entities spent so much money on feasibility studies. And I'm not referring to the transportation study that was done by a mercenary company hired to make sure that we qualified to get every check mark we could on the CMAQ grant. There is a difference between this transportation study and a true feasibility study. We were called, I'm a representative of the city council, we were called the day before, and I don't remember that date, to give a letter of support to the IRC behind us. Up until that date, the city had not received any formal communication from the county about anything that was going on with this transportation plan. Nothing. That is a lack of transparency. When reading Tom Worthen's minutes in the last meeting he was involved in, it specifically said, his terminology was specifically said to utilize the city and county to work together, split the cost. I didn't agree with that, but to split the cost. Where was the communication? Now, I'm not a kid anymore, and I don't play ancillary politics and second-guess plans and transportation studies because I'm a part of the government. I have been for over 10 years. And now I understand that you do feasibility studies before you spend $8 million of taxpayer money. It doesn't matter whether it's federal taxpayer money or local taxpayer money. It's taxpayer money. It's coming out of somebody's pocket who worked hard for that dollar. So what do? You do a feasibility study to make sure you're doing the right, making the right decision. But that has not happened at all here. There has been no feasibility study. I could go on and on, but I think at this point, and I'll go on record, I'm not specifically against a bus system. I'm specifically against any plan that was done prematurely and without fully thought out processes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hold your applause, please, y'all. Thank you, Councilman Miller. We'll take this matter into advisement, and we appreciate your participation in county government. Last but not least, we have Ms. Karenia Compton. Ms. Compton, would you please come forth and restate your name, and give us your address and your subject matter.
Karenia Compton, Woodlawn Drive, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135. My comments are regards to the transportation grant that I know you're not voting on tonight, but when you do take it into consideration, I would like for my comments to be weighed just as everyone else's comments have thus far tonight. Okay. So, positive development of a community means investing in both human capital and physical capital. Economic development is directly tied to mobility transport. That means it is an important component of building an economically and sound county government. When you decide to accept or deny the grant, I want you to take that into consideration. This CMAQ grant has so many opportunities tied to it. I think we're doing a smart thing by getting ahead of what HB 930 has already been presented. By going ahead and accepting the grant, we are now putting in place what needs to be before the grant comes down. We are seeing what works for our citizens. We, as taxpayers, Lord knows I pay a lot of taxes in Douglas County. I have an 18-year-old who started working. She pays taxes in Douglas County. She wants to have the transportation. We utilize the public express, but it would be so beneficial if she could get to work without having to wait for her father or me to take her when we only live 1.5 miles from the Arbor Place Mall where she works. Yes, she can drive, but she is not always privy to a car. So when we think about this, let's think about the economic development that is tied, not just to us who sit in here and who have 4 and 5 cars, but to the ones who are coming along and who want to keep Douglas County as their home. That is my statement.
Thank you so much. Let's hold the applause, please. Let's hold the applause. Thank you all so much. Mrs. Compton, thank you for coming in. We appreciate your participation in county government, and we will take this matter under advisement. That is the end of our public comments. We appreciate everyone coming in, and I appreciate your contribution to this discussion tonight regarding our transportation. And also, I believe Mr. Pierce discussed the coroner. Next, we have a presentation. The presentation is a SPLOST update. Mr. Terry Gable, would you please come forward and give us an update?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board.
Good evening.
Let me back up. My name's Terry Gable. I'm with Moreland Altabella, and I'll be giving the SPLOST update for the month of July. So this first slide is a chart showing the project cost by program element, and we show this, Richard showed this monthly. Each program is at its max except for transportation, and as we've said, we'll add, as we program more projects getting into some of the intersections, that number will increase up until its max. So right now we are at about 9.3 million that we've spent total for the program. So we're getting some work out on the street, and hopefully as we progress throughout the year, you'll see more work on the ground and that number go up. That's about 10% of the program, and we look forward to continuing to grow it. The next 3 slides is just breaking it out by each department. The fire and public radio is about 4.3 million. A good bit of that's been in some of the bigger items with the fire trucks, chief's fire trucks, ambulances, and of course the radio system. Transportation is right at 3.8 million. Of the bulk of that's been in resurfacing. I think we've had a pretty aggressive resurfacing program, and we're getting kicked off with the 2018 now. So we look forward to that going, and also getting into some of the other projects like the intersections and the sidewalk projects. Parks and Recs, we're still down a little low there, but we've got a lot going on, as you well know. A lot of stuff under design. We just now recently got the concession building out for construction, and look forward to that getting started. So you'll see that number jump up quickly this year. The last one is program management, with our expenses for the Moreland Altabellas and Russells in managing the program. Great news for the month of May. The revenues actually came in a little bit higher than what was projected. You see the flat line is what was projected out for the life of this year, actually, the revenues. And we came in May just a little above that, and we're showing April and May. So good news. Hopefully that the line will stay above the flat line as we move through the year, and able to report some good numbers at the end of the year. This is just another graphic of comparing April to May. It was an increase of about a little over about $120,000 in revenues, which again is good news, and look forward to that continuing to grow. This slide is just showing hard numbers of May. It was a little over $2 million in revenue. If you take the April and May, the projected estimates, it was about over $4 million and what was projected, and then we had about a $21,000 shortfall for those 2 months. If we had a question yesterday about the shortfall for the past 14 months, and it was running about $32,000. So we're slightly ahead of that with a total 14-month projection on the shortfall. As we did last year, we've got 2 payments that are going to be made with the bond obligation. Again, it'll be in October and in April of next year. This one's jumped up to about $17.7 million, and the first payment in October will be $1.3 million, with the second one being about $16.3 million. And we're on target to meet that right now. And with that, we'll take a few minutes and go through some of the projects and give some updates. The radio system Motorola is well on the way with that. To kind of give you an overview of the towers, with 8 new towers that are going to be constructed, we've got 4 of those are with it in some form of land acquisition. 3 are under design. Those 3 are near completion on the design, and Jay Nix is telling me that we should have those under construction within the next a couple of weeks. Each tower is going to take about a month and a half, so you'll see in a short period of time a good bit of work going on with the towers. We had they did get one of the towers completed that's over at the 911 center. I stopped by last week and took a snapshot of it. This is one of the shorter towers. Of course, the others at the first 3 that'll go up is Fire Station 5, 11, and Bill Arp. Be much taller towers and much bigger. But I was impressed by Motorola's the construction on the project and how well they left it when they came out of there. You can't tell it was under construction. So the chief has got a couple of ambulances that are on order. Should be in by the end of the year. And on 1 pumper truck this year, the proposals are out on the street, and we expect those in around August the 3rd, and we'll get that fire truck underway. Station 3 renovations. If you remember, we put this project out for bid earlier and rejected the bids. Went back and did some value engineering on it to try to get it down some, which we were successful in doing that. We took bids back in June and have received 6 bids. Low bid, we submitted a recommendation to award that, and it's on the agenda for tonight. Staff vehicles for the chief. We've got 3 pickups that are on order and should be in by the end of the year. That's what we're hoping. And with that, we'll move into transportation. As I mentioned, we've pretty aggressive resurfacing program that we started. Miguel and his staff just did a pre-construction meeting for C.W. Matthews, who was awarded the 2018 resurfacing this year. So everything's is ready to go. We just need to finalize some paperwork and get them started. The contract it's got a 5-month completion date on it, and as we talked yesterday, C.W. Matthews has got some work that they've got to get completed before they come over, but they promised us they'll put the resources in there to get it completed by the end of the year. The Riverside Parkway streetlights. The project's completed. I'm hoping next month we'll be able to remove this. We still haven't gotten an invoice from Greystone, but all the lights are up, and they promised to be by Friday. They did have to go out there and build some risers to get all the power to the lights, and that was the last thing to do, and they should have that by this Friday. Lee Road Extension. This study is ongoing with Clark Patterson Lee, and it's on course to be completed in October, and that's when they'll be delivering the reports to the county. Rock House Road, we've got 1 invoice to pay on that. This project's completed, as you know, so this will probably be the last time that we report on that also. Stewart Mill Road, this is one of the intersections that we really want to get going. We've got everything in place, and I I'm in the process right now with Miguel. We're trying to set up a design kickoff meeting with Jacobs Engineering to get them started, and I think they're ready to go to work. Hopefully, since this is one of the projects that they had worked on previously and had done some engineering, and the project had to be canceled. So hopefully the design on that will move quicker because of that, and we can get this out on the street quicker too. John West Road at Bright Star Road. This is being designed, as I mentioned yesterday, by SEI. They have hit this pretty aggressively. They've been doing a good job of keeping in contact with us and keeping the project moving, Miguel and I. And they have the design pretty much completed, and they have submitted right-of-way plans to Miguel. Hopefully, we'll have that right-of-way and the easements and what little bit of right-of-way we're acquiring completed within about 3 months and be able to get it out on the street towards the end of the fall. Chapel Hill Road is also being designed by SEI. They've focused on John West first because it was the smaller project, and so they've been working on them concurrently, but most of the attention was focused on John West. Chapel Hill Road, we're working with them to get some preliminary design layouts that we'll be using to go to a public information meeting sometime in August. And once we get that done, we'll be able to move forward with finalizing the plans and hopefully have that done. Their goal was to have it designed by October, and then again be getting Miguel right-of-way plans to start acquiring the right-of-way. Sweetwater Church intersection. This is the one we're partnering with Paulding County. Talking to them last week, they have made the revisions to the plans. The signal plans are done, and we've got a meeting set up July 31st with them and Miguel's staff to sit down and just brainstorm this project and try to go ahead and get it near final completion for design and be able to get it out on the street for bid. These next two are the newer intersections of Highway 5 at Douglas Boulevard and Highway 92 and Anawake Road. Miguel has that in his shop, and we're doing some preliminary studies on them, trying to determine best options for funding on the Highway 5 project and on Highway 92 at Anawake, discussing possibly going out with a scoping study on it since it's going to be a larger, more complex project. So Post Road at Dog River, had reported yesterday, GDOT has let that project in June. They've awarded it to Wright Brothers Construction, and we look forward to that getting started. They'll have a kickoff meeting with all the counties that are involved. If you remember, this project will be let in a bundle with other counties around the state. Obviously, GDOT did that to get better bids. And once we get to the kickoff meeting, we'll be able to report back to you a little more specific about contractor scheduling when they'll start here in Douglas County. So the next three projects are our sidewalk projects at the three schools, Lithia Springs, Chestnut, Log, and New Manchester. If you remember, we first put these projects out for design services several months ago, and no one bid on them. And then we did a little bit of legwork in the field trying to do something simpler with contracts with a local contractor, and that we hit a wall with some design issues there. So we put it back out on the street for design services. Fortunately, we had a good bid came in. It was awarded to SEI, and they are moving forward. Miguel and I have already met with them and had a kickoff meeting. We'll see some, hopefully, as a couple months, next few months go by, we'll be reporting on their progress and where we're at with the sidewalks. Transportation for equipment, Miguel has already got on order 2 dump trucks and a pickup truck should be in towards the latter part of this year, we hope. And with that, we'll move into Parks and Recs. So Boundary Waters, this is our first project with Parks that we've actually been able to complete the design and get it out on the street. We received 4 bids on July 13th, and the bids are still under review. And we'll be bringing a recommendation to the Parks Committee next month. The bids did come in over our engineer's estimate. We've seen the same thing with the fire department, with renovations of Fire Station 3. So as we talked yesterday, inflation's up, work's up, and it is causing some increase in our cost. This is the rendering I showed you yesterday. It's a nice looking building. It'll serve both the soccer field and the football field. Each side will have its own concession stand with a grilling area. So I think it'll work real well and look good at the park. The Deer Lick Park tennis courts, you know, we're doing a complete rehab on the tennis courts here with new fencing and lighting, and also doing some new bathrooms and a small pavilion. This has been awarded for design to, well, not awarded. I think this is on the agenda for July. You guys will vote on it for Carter and Watkins to get started on that. We've already had a preliminary kind of a kickoff meeting with them, and they're ready to start work. The Multipurpose Rec Center. So we've, Sutton Architects is the architect for that. We've already had 4 meetings with them. I think we're off on a good start with them. Again, they're realizing that the costs have gone up. We're working real hard to try to keep it within scope and within budget. We've got some preliminary layouts for some block plans that we're working on now. I think Gary's trying to keep it with 2 large gyms and a large meeting room is what we're going for now, and that can be massaged, and I'm sure he'll be bringing that to the Parks Committee for review and just brainstorming it, and then we'll try to build as big of building as we can and keep it within scope. One thing that Pete has suggested is that we could, on the plan, show an expansion area that I didn't mention yesterday, and he's given us some cost on it that we can. It'll make it more feasible to add to this building if we end up staying within scope and something smaller than what the county had hoped, and we can possibly expand it later on down the road. We will be doing once we get the the preliminary design phase completed, we got full intentions on going out to the public, hopefully in August, maybe 1st of September, with some displays and have Pete there. And take more comments from the public and on the design of the building. So the Senior Center is next. We've got a kickoff meeting scheduled with Carter and Watkins, who's been awarded the contract. This is the design phase of it. So the meeting is scheduled for July 31st at the Woody Fight Senior Center. Richard Hagan and Sharon will be there along with the architect and myself. This will kind of be a get-to-know meeting and start giving them some good ideas on what we're looking for with the Senior Center. Then we'll grow from there and be, like with the Rec Center, we'll be setting up a public information meeting, hopefully this fall, and start taking on some more comments. So the next 2 is Bill Arp and Fair Play. Both these parks are getting new concession buildings, and we're redoing the fencing at the baseball fields. It's what's in the scope. This is still under design. We're about 85% done, and I'm looking for some hard numbers from the architect here soon. And again, with the prices that we got on the Boundary Waters concession, we'll probably be sitting down and having to brainstorm the budget versus the cost that we're going to be looking at the buildings, and then make some decisions on the fencing. Fair Play Park light replacements. I talked with the architect today, and we have, as everybody's asked, and we've got this project on fast pace. They know it's a high priority, and we hopefully, with it just being lights and poles, we'll have the design completed by the end of the month, and we'll get it out on the street either at the end of August or the 1st of September. And with that, just the miscellaneous equipment that Gary has ordered. Some of it's already come in, mowers and control system, and he's already got it in place. And what does not come in should be in by the end of the year. And the last slide there is our program management expenses, which we're tracking monthly with Mr. Peacock. The last slides I'll show are we've been tracking, as you had asked, the vendors. So we got 51 current vendors that are working under the SPLOST program. 16 of those are within Douglas County, 15 are within a 30-mile radius, and the remaining vendors are outside of that. The numbers on the vendors within the county are showing well. Between that and the ones in the 30-mile radius, we're still looking at about 60% of the vendors total of the SPLOST program that are within a 30-mile radius or in Douglas County. When you start breaking it down by numbers on dollar amounts, most of the vendors that are in Douglas County right now are some of the smaller projects and equipment that we're purchasing. So that's about 4% of what the total is that we've spent. 35% of that, though, is within the 30-mile radius. We'll keep monitoring that and keep advertising and getting the word out. I will say that we had 2 contractors bid on the fire station and the concession building, the Boundary Waters concession building, that are in Douglas County. So the word's out there. It's just a matter of timing for these guys to get the low bid. And the last slide is we're tracking minority and DBE firms, and we're overall with a number of vendors we have and contractors, 16% of those are either DBE or minority. And we'll continue to track that and, again, try to get the word out and increase that number as much as we can also. And with that, I will open it up for questions or...
Thank you, Mr. Gable. That was a great presentation. Board of Commissioners, you have heard the SPLOST update. Do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Robeson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like yesterday, I'll be brief and be sensitive to my peers. I'm probably going to only have about 3 questions, and they're going to be consistent just for the record. But I want to give some context, and I want to ask real quick for the county manager or either the our spokesperson, translate the amount of money that we actually got for this SPLOST. In other words, what percentage was transportation and the exact dollar amount? I'm looking for the dollars. You guys know that real quick?
Well, originally it was 51% transportation, 32% fire and EMS, 17% parks and rec. As far as the total numbers so far, I do not have those numbers with me.
Do we know the number for how much? Okay, all right, I'm going to make a point. So, all right, that's fine, that's good enough. So 51% was transportation. And so when you think about the SPLOST, and I need to, I've been in office since '09. Again, I'm going to say this is probably my last hurrah, but I'm going to keep it honest. So we come in. The very first thing I do, I'm involved in. We're doing a SPLOST, and we're going to build a jail. And this is an ideology, right? This is a different view now. But back then, there was an ideology as an economic development initiative, we're going to build a jail. $100 million. During the recession, and what that did was that impoverished the city because we hadn't gone through the SDS or the loss negotiation yet, that they were already down. They just got into that conference center. They got into the golf club. Think about it. $100 million on a jail, right? To benefit what? 700 people, to make them feel comfortable. Think about policy. At the end of the day, when you're listening to us today, it's all about policy. It's the appropriation of funds. It's about trade-off. Okay, so, all right, so again, I'm listening. I'm going to be very quick. Quick lesson. $100 million. All right, so think about it. We spend, what, about $2 million a year, LMIG, right? So $100 million divided by $2 million, that was 50 years worth of roads. But we spent $100 million on what? To make 700 people comfortable, and we overbuilt it probably about 40%. Right? Beautiful jail, no problem for my public safety officers. They should have a better place to work, no problem. It's about trade-off. It's about policy. All right, that's my first point. All right, so, but you get it. I mean, think about it. What was our bet? We could have built it 40% less and spread them in. We took that entire SPOS and built it on something that everybody didn't benefit. Only a few benefited from. $100 million. All right, let me shift. Animal shelter. We take $5 million cash. We make 80 cats and dogs happy. All right, I get it. I know. Commissioner Walker, don't go there. I know. We did it for the safety of our workers there. I understand, but I'm talking about, it's about appropriations. Right? It's choice. How we get there by studies and all that, guys, let's not insult. Let's not do that, right? This is important. So here I am. I'm looking at like, okay, so here we got a new administration. We've got a new reset. So how should we appropriate funds? We're committed to transportation, but there's other things that need to be done. Everything is not about safety. Everything is not about fear. There's other parts of quality of life, like parks, right, that need to be done, economic development. There's other things that need to be done. So the question is, it's not about equality of the vote. It's about equity of the distribution. So I hear this argument. Don't come here. Don't do this. There's a difference. No, I'm sure that maintain order. All right, so let me make my point. The point being is very simply this. You have equality. One man, one vote. Right? We also have distribution of the assets. So if a taxpayer puts in $1, $1 million, that $1 still should get its yield. It still should get it. One part of the community cannot suggest that the other part get nothing and they get everything. Or if I don't want them to have something, nobody gets anything. That's an ideology that it has its place, but there's other ways to approach it. There's more inclusive ways to ensure that everybody in the garden gets watered. But I think with this SPOS, it's more equal, it's more equitable, right? A little bit of everything. I mean, other areas need to be fed. So I looked at this and I said, okay, then this is a good SPOS. This was a good one. This was a healthy one. And I'm proud of it, and I appreciate my peers for going to the mat, and we're doing what we're doing, especially Commissioner Mitchell as it relates to parks and making sure we get it, which brings me to my point. So now, parks. Boundary Waters is a mega park. It is one of the largest parks we have in the county, 500 acres, beautifully built. Baseball, you know, we just put the new football field up, which that concession center got soccer. It had everything. No, sorry. Thank you. I can keep going.
Time's up.
No, sorry. So again, so here we are. We're sitting there, and I promise. But we're sitting there with the community center, and this is my question, which is it going to be properly built? And Commissioner Mitchell, and this was the question, I just, for the record again, what I'm hearing is that we had a community center that was supposed to have 2 gyms. And it was supposed to have some special space in it for community rooms, whatever you want to say, dance rooms, et cetera. And just for the record, I guess what I'd like for the Parks Committee to consider is that, will you bring back to the Board of Commissioners if, in fact, there's a decision made to either make the building conform to the dollars or, to the extent, expand additional money, or what I heard is this third option, put expansion room later in time. You weren't here before, but I just wanted to say it before for the record. Can I ask that, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, I'll keep going. That was just that point. The next point is Riverside. Riverside. Again, everything that I advocate comes from a citizen. It's nothing that I advocate in and of myself. It's none of me, all of my citizens. And so on Riverside, it was asked to more street lights. Everybody doesn't like, you know, the skylights in the sense that everybody don't want crickets. Some people drive down the street, they want sidewalks, they want street lights, right? You gotta remember, Douglas County is not just one flavor. We have 4 distinct character areas, right? You got the rural west, you got mine that looks more like Cobb and Fulton, you got the city, which is north, and then you've got true suburban, which is 3rd district. Very, very, very different, right? And all those areas should be acknowledged. And so on Riverside, it was something like, well, we want street lights, sidewalks, that's important for us. But we're sensitive to other people that may not want that in that area, but it's not an either or, it can be all the above, all right? So I'm just concerned about the streetlights, that it took so long for that to get done. It took a whole year. And I just think that, for the record, one more time, for the citizens who came out to hear, like, what's the status of that? That was a major issue. The last issue is Lee Road, and you may need some help on this one. But Lee Road is something that we've talked about. I've heard you talk about. We talked about adding additional money from extending Fairburn Road over to Bomar, ultimately going to Chapel Hill. And we have a consultant, I think, that's online. My concern with this is that we also had a widening project, which is for Lee Road. These are for District 2. For the record, that when the bridge was built, the next phase was from the bridge all the way to Fairburn Road was supposed to be widened from 2 lanes to this, then ultimately from Fairburn to Bomar over to Chapel Hill. My concern is that we've somewhat stalled. And so, Miguel, can you please, just for the, if he's here, Madam Chair Valentine, I just need clarity on that, and I will
Director
yield the
Valentine,
floor.
please come forth.
Okay, I'm going to yield the floor after that, just to simply, just clarify that one point on where we are with the widening. One of the challenges that we have for District 2 is that everywhere around it, Thornton Road has been paved, Fairburn Road has been paved, Riverside has been paved. Lee Road is the 3rd most trafficked area. I mean, beyond I-20, Thornton Road, Fairburn Road, then there's Lee Road because it's a cut through. So it's a lot of traffic, 40,000 trips a day. Can you tell us the status of that? Because I have to make a decision. Do I resurface Lee Road after waiting for 5 or 6 years? Or do I pause for another 5 to 6 years because we're still waiting on this project? Can you answer that, and I yield?
Absolutely. Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. The Lee Road widening project is obviously been delayed for quite a long time. I have been in discussions with the agencies that provide the funding mechanisms, the ARC, GDOT, and CERTA now, Greta and now CERTA. And initially, the estimated cost of the project was around $12 million. Because of all the time that has transpired since the initial estimate, that now has gone to about $18 million. So the costs have escalated. However, within the last month or so, there have been indications by all of the agencies involved that this is a project that is very much still a viable project, and they're looking forward to the county completing all of the elements necessary to go to construction on the project. However, the funding has to be found, not only for all of the federal funds that were originally earmarked for that project to be lined up and to be put into the right account, but also for the local match. So obviously the delivery of the project has been delayed for quite a long time. The road has not been invested in, probably on the hope that the project would be forthcoming and the road would be taken care of as part of the widening. However, there is no guarantee that if we wait another 6 months that we will have all of the elements lined up properly to move the project. Therefore, there is a consideration for going ahead and spending some effort into remedying the road. Any expenditure that is made on the road now, it's not all lost necessarily, but there's certainly going to be some of the effort lost. But that is a call that the commission will have to make. There isn't an either or at this point because of the delays for so many years. It would not be, the recommendation would be that you consider at an upcoming opportunity for another project that be considered. Because again, all of the expenditure that goes into an overlay or remedial action on the road is not going to be lost. And if the project does move forward, then so much for the better. But at least it will not continue to be in the condition that it is now.
Okay. All right, I'm going to just leave that there. I just need to put that for the record for District 2, because if we make the call to resurface Lee Road, If the project comes back around, we may have to tear up the edges to go ahead and widen it. So it's a trade-off, but again, we've been a long time in coming. It's nothing that Miguel here was just taking over this. This is some latent stuff from the prior administration, so we're trying to clean this up. I thank you for that, Madam Chair. I yield.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Guider?
Yes, and Miguel, if you would stay there, and I promise you I will make this brief. Reynolds Road and Stewart Mill Road, that was supposed to have been done back in 2002 with the 2002 splosh, and that's been 16 years that it has not been done. Now, I understood you to say that you're going to get with Jacobs, the engineers, on the plan, so I was under the impression they were already working on it. So they are not working on it?
Well, if I may answer that.
There's a wreck there almost every week.
Yes, Commissioner. There was some preliminary work, there was some initial work done. The plants were pretty far along some years back.
I mean the
redesign effort. We have been trying to get a design contract with them, with Jacobs, for quite a while. And it's been approved by the board, and we are now in position to have a kickoff meeting with them to go over the details of the design.
So how long does this redesign, I think you just add another lane or something, another culvert or something, but how long does this take? Those people are going into Chapel Hill subdivision. Of course, that's Commissioner Mulcair's district, but the road divides into my district. But there's wrecks there all the time. And you talking about traffic coming down that way, that is also a cut through to avoid Highway 5. So how long are we talking about?
Understood, Commissioner. It takes too long, obviously, for some of these things to come to fruition. However, that project is now, we're getting to the point where the design can be finalized. The preliminary work is not all lost. It will be finalized, and then the estimation would be that about a 4-month design period will get us to where we were able to begin the process of acquiring the necessary right-of-way and get it ready for construction. So we're hopeful that by the end of the year we would have the design.
Okay, and an update on the Stewart Mill, West Stewart Mill, Yancey intersection. The equipment's been sitting there for about a month now.
Yes.
3 weeks at least, not doing anything because of a right-of-way. Where do we stand on the right-of-way?
The right-of-way, we are in the process of filing condemnation proceedings.
How long will that take?
The process will probably take about another week to 2 weeks. And then once the filing is approved by the court, we would be able to proceed with the project.
We'll have the equipment moving again instead of just sitting there.
We would be able to get the project back underway.
The only thing is we've wasted a lot of summertime when the school wouldn't be affected, but now it's going to be affected that much more. So please hurry those two projects along. Both of them were supposed to have been in the 2002 splash. So, okay, thank you. I yield back.
Okay. Any other comment from the Board of Commissioners? Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, real quick, Miguel, and County Administrator Mark Till, can you confirm for us in our Transportation Committee meeting that a recommendation was passed to move up the sidewalks on Maxim Road? And just for background, Maxim Road and Thornton Road is a project that's always been ongoing. It is one of the worst fatality areas in the entire metro area. And so this is a project that's been going on. We had a pedestrian vehicle death late last year, in addition to Riverside. I mean, that area, and sidewalks are important, and you mentioned that. Can we confirm that there was a recommendation to bring that project up, and meaning the sidewalk project on Maxim Road, bring it up and insert it as part of the SPLOST as it relates to Maxim Road? Can you confirm that?
Yes, that is correct, Commissioner. The discussion was along the lines related to the Maxim Road widening project and the fact that once that project, which is very close to going to construction, once that project is completed, there will be a gap in the sidewalks between Thornton Road and where that project terminates, and the existing sidewalks beyond, on Maxim Road beyond the project. And so the goal would be to infill that gap in the sidewalks. That project, the SPLOST has an allocation for sidewalk construction. It was not specifically designated as one of those, but it is within that category. And so the recommendation was from the committee to advance that so that once the Maxim Road widening project or intersection improvement project is completed, about the same time it would be filling in that gap in the sidewalks.
And Commissioner Robinson, today during the Transportation Committee meeting, I think I had stated that I thought it was right below those 3 projects that are currently under design. I sent an email out. It was after 5 o'clock, but there were a couple more projects that were in between those 3 projects that were under design right now. And then the Maxim Road sidewalks is at the very bottom, so it would require board approval to move it up the list.
Understood.
Yes, sir.
Well, we're bringing forth the recommendation, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Gable. Thank you. Great presentation. Next, we will move to the approval of the minutes. You have the minutes of the commission meeting of July 10th, 2018, the work session, and the executive session minutes of July 9th, 2018. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions that need to be made?
No, ma'am.
Being none, the minutes stand approved as presented. Next, we have a business item tab number 4. Commissioner Robinson.
Yep. Madam Chair, can I have Director Gary Watson come forward? And at this time, Gary, can you just walk the public that came here through the presentation that you had yesterday?
Yes, sir.
And again, the board knows what it's going to do. It's just a matter, for the record, they need to understand what we're talking about regarding this item. I yield. Go ahead.
I can get TJ to come forward and do his magic. What I'm going to do for you this evening is I'm going to give you a quick primer on the CMAQ program and how we got to where we are tonight. What is CMAQ?
Can you speak into the mic?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
CMAQ stands for Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. It's a federal grant program. The funds may be used for any transit capital expenditure as long as it has an air quality benefit. Transit startups or transit expansions are eligible projects, and of course, we're considered a transit startup. In Metro Atlanta, CMAQ projects are vetted by the Atlanta Regional Commission. Our particular project and about 100 others were vetted and approved by the ARC's Transportation Coordinating Committee, the Transportation and Air Quality Committee, and the full Atlanta Regional Commission Board. Once the project receives the ARC go-ahead, Georgia DOT and the Federal Highway Administration sign off on it, and the Federal Highway Administration flexes these funds to the Federal Transit Administration. And then at that point, jurisdictions such as Douglas County can apply to FTA for the CMAQ funds. Our project, as everyone knows by now, is fixed route bus service. This was the #1 recommendation of our transportation services study that we did back in 2015 and 2016. The bus service is designed to serve all residents of Douglas County, not just seniors and disabled. And certainly we would hope that visitors to Douglas County would be able to utilize the bus service as well. And the fixed route bus service is in addition to our existing mobility programs, which includes our van pools that take individuals to work throughout the metro Atlanta area, our voucher program for senior adults and disabled individuals,
the SERTA bus service, express bus service that goes into downtown and midtown Atlanta every day, and our trip planning that is available to any individual regardless of age. For the CMAQ application that we have submitted, the total funds in it is $6 million. The CMAQ grant itself would provide $4.8 million in federal money, which would require a $1.2 million local match, and that includes passenger fares. The industry standard for passenger fare collection is about 25%. We would hope that we would reach that plateau. The CMAQ timeline, it's been a long, arduous process. It started in May 2017 when we submitted a CMAQ application to the ARC that had the 2 Douglasville routes. In early summer 2017, ARC suggested that we revise our routes to score better in the CMAQ competition. So late last summer, in summer 2017, during the revision process requested by ARC, the number of routes went from 2 to 1 to 2 to 5 to 4. And that's a long story in itself that I won't get into tonight. In October of 2017, we submitted an application supplement, basically at the request of ARC, that included 4 routes, one of them going to the H.E. Holmes MARTA station. In December 2017, we received the initial award of the CMAQ grant from the Atlanta Regional Commission. And then in June 2018, the ARC officially endorsed our CMAQ application along with about 100 other transportation transit projects in the metro area. Let's talk a little bit about the buses. The actual term for the vehicle that we will be using is cutaway. It's not a van, it's not a bus, it's a cutaway. But it is more like a van than a bus. They carry 15 people. They're smaller vehicles that are already in use by our senior citizen program and utilizing the roads of Douglas County every day. They're so small that you don't need a commercial driver's license to drive one. Here's what we're looking at for our schedule and rates. We're looking at 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday. We just finished up a number of public meetings about the proposed bus service, and one of the questions that we asked the individuals who attended is, what did they think would be a reasonable fare? And for many of the people who attended, $2 seemed to be the reasonable price point. Let's talk a little bit about the routes now. We have proposed 4 routes. This first route is the downtown Douglasville route. It serves the North Douglasville area, the area along Church Street where City Hall is, the Chamber of Commerce, the Conference Center, the old courthouse. We also make a loop to where we serve the library and health center. This particular route utilizes a small stretch of Campbellton Street from Douglas County High School up to Highway 78. It's never been our intention on this route to utilize all of Campbellton Street, and by that I mean, say, from Douglas County High School down to the Expressway Bridge and Chapel Hill Road. That's never been in the plan. The second Douglasville route is a little longer. Again, it serves part of the northern area of the city because we feel like that's going to be one of our high areas of ridership. But it serves a lot of important areas too. For instance, the Boys and Girls Club, Hunter Park, Walmart, Sam's, everything down around Stewart Parkway, like Georgia Highlands College. We go back up to Douglas Boulevard where we serve the mall, the Target shopping area, West Georgia Technical College, Wellstar Hospital, and of course the courthouse. The third route is our Route 30, Thornton Road, Riverside Drive. This particular route would start at the Walmart on Thornton Road, travel Thornton Road south to Riverside Parkway, and go out Riverside Parkway and end at the American Red Cross Center. This route was added later as we had discussions with the Industrial Development Authority and also some of the distribution centers and businesses along Thornton Road, in particular Riverside Parkway. One of their big problems has been being able to get individuals to their locations for employment, and they asked us if we could give them some help, and so that's how this route came about. Initially, we had talked about a direct connect route that would leave Douglasville every day, make a stop on Thornton Road, and then go directly on in to the Hamilton E. Holmes MARTA station. Again, as we had our public meetings, obviously there was a lot of displeasure with all of the routes, but this one in particular seemed to draw the wrath of a number of the people that we talked to, and we also felt like there was some concern among the Board of Commissioners about this particular route and it leaving the county. So we went back and talked to the Atlanta Regional Commission, asked them if we could scale back this route. We got their permission to do that. And then we had a conversation with representatives from Cobb County asking them if there was a possibility of us connecting this route of ours with their Route 30 to where we could provide transportation on in to the H.E. Holmes station, providing that regional type connectivity that's very important to the metropolitan planning organizations. So we got positive feedback from ARC and Cobb County, and so what we decided to do is to propose ending this route on Thornton Road and scaling it back to where we could serve more areas of the Lithia Springs area. And so we did that, and we're presenting two options for that. Option A, it leaves Douglasville every day, goes east on I-20, gets off at Lee Road, goes left up to South Sweetwater, and from South Sweetwater turns right onto Skyview Drive. Then the route goes all the way up Skyview, across Thornton Road, over to Oak Hill Drive, and from there we can make a Cobb County connection, and it also serves our park and ride lot there. And that particular route, option A, it would serve a population of 9,214, and there are about 8,500 jobs in that particular area. Okay, option B, somewhat similar to option A. Again, you head east on I-20 to Lee Road. You go up South Sweetwater, but instead of turning on Skyview, you go all the way up to Highway 78. From Highway 78, you go east to Thornton Road. You make a right turn to go south on Thornton Road. And then again, from there, you make a turn onto Oak Hill Drive to go up to our park and ride lot and to make the Cobb County connection. One benefit about this particular route is that it would serve that area off Thornton Road north of I-20. Here's a bit of a comparison between the two routes. Option B serves a little greater population than option A. The same with the employment. Option B has a little more. The minority population in option B is just slightly higher, but then you look at option A, and it would serve just a little bit higher percentage of people in poverty, a little higher percentage of senior adults, and the number of people with disabilities would be the same percentage, about 11.2%. As far as people with no vehicles, again, both routes are very similar, with option A having just a few more people with no vehicles. Okay, both of these options provide the connectivity to the region that is very important. Both routes can link with Cobb Route 30, and that would provide not only connectivity to the H.E. Holmes MARTA station, but to 8 other Cobb Link routes, which would basically be able to take you throughout Cobb County to any destination that you would need to get to there. Okay, what do we still need to do? This is working under the assumption that the board approves us going forward with the CMAQ application. If that's the case, then we would need to develop the application. That includes refining the routes, and there would still be a great deal of work to do with that. We would be identifying stops along those routes, hiring a third-party operator to be the day-to-day manager of our bus operation. And of course, we'd have to establish fares. We would have to order additional cutaways. We would want to introduce our new Connect Douglas branding, which would serve not only the bus service, but also our existing programs. A very important step would be that we would have to develop schedules and other printed materials that we could distribute to the public, where they would know how to use the bus service and our other services. We would have to draft operating procedures, safety procedures, things like that. We would certainly want to improve our web presence, our social media presence, those ways of touching the public. And there's going to be some additional staff that we'll have to hire. Currently, we're just not capable of doing everything that would need to be done with the staff that we have now. So we've come a long way, but if we're going to move forward with this, there's still a lot of work to be done. And I want the public to know that if we do go forward with this process, they're going to have plenty of opportunities to have their voice heard as far as things like fares, where the routes go, where the stops are going to be. Pretty much everything we're going to do, the public's going to have a hand in it. And with that, I'll be glad to try to answer anybody's questions.
Let me just frame this real quick, Madam Chair.
Go for it.
Thank you, Madam. Just for the public record, again, Gary, thank you very much for giving Director Watkins for giving this background. One of the things is that July 24th was a date that we promoted as being the date in which we were shooting for to vote on this matter. A lot of you have spent a lot of time over the past couple of months sending in your emails, doing all the things that you did, your petitions, and they're all duly noted. We appreciate you being here today, which is why we chose to continue down this path to allow people to speak. And we know your time is very valuable, right? And so your input was necessary, and so we wanted to at least get it of record. We want to acknowledge that yesterday we realized that our colleagues had not gotten the full report yet on some of the consulting work that had been done out in the population, and so we thought that was important to be part of the process. In other words, we had formalized meeting in each of the commission districts to get input on both existing and proposed bus services as well as the rebranding. And we believe that putting a delay on that was necessary to honor the process. The intent was not to be anything other than to make sure everybody had adequate information in their decision making. But with that, we recognized that was Route 30 that we're now calling 40?
Route 100.
Route 100 is now
40.
Or now
Yes,
40. What we realized that this past Friday when the meeting that was between the two administrations, Cobb and Douglas, that there was an opportunity for us actually to work together to solve a problem. Now, I take the 30 all the time. My mother lives right there. I get a taxi over to 30, jump on down to the homes, head on over to Emory, over in Decatur, Clifton Avenue, and North Decatur, and of course get my eyes worked on. And so I recognize what that means and what that's about. But we've always had an opportunity to do so. What this pause here allows us to do is to reflect. In other words, we can all come in and say, okay, if the issue was really about going outside the county, and we really wanted our dollars to stay inside, in theory, not suspending it, we've got a solution. We met in the middle. It was deliberate. Yes, that's the whole point of politics, right? It doesn't have to be either or. It can be both. I appreciate County Administrator Teal, Director Miguel Valentin, and Gary, Director Watson, for attending that meeting and facilitating and ensuring that, look, we could do this. We could pull this off. So, I mean, that was done in, from Friday to Monday. So we have to acknowledge that, look, we knew that was one outstanding issue for one of our commissioners. We had already solved another one from our prior commissioner, Commissioner Mitchell, about stabilizing the routes. And we know this is important, but the input is necessary. You got to listen, so it should move. It was not shotgunned. It moved because we had to listen to people's comments and what was important. So, Madam Chair, here's my question, is that do we afford the public to at least hear the debate now before I put forth a table motion, which I think Commissioner Mulcair, you agreed to work with. Do we allow the public to at least hear the debate, recognizing if we come back together on Tuesday, August 7th, that's a 10 a.m. meeting. Most of you won't be available for that. And so is it proper to at least hear the debate, recognizing everyone, we're going to have to table this to give us time to sort of just reflect on everything. And I'm going to leave it at that. And Madam Chair, I'll yield it back to you to ask the peers what they want to do, or just go straight to a table.
I would like to honor just some minor discussion, 2-minute limitation, and then we will move forward to tabling. Any comments from any of the Board of Commissioners before I move forward with the calling for the motion? Commissioner Guider.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I want to address a lot of the people that were here tonight. I think most of you live in the city of Douglasville or very close to it. The original routes addressed what you were asking for tonight. It addressed going to the mall. It addressed going to the hospital. It addressed going around Douglas County and to the jobs and everything. That was the plan all along. When we started in 2015 with 2 routes, that's what we talked about. We never had anybody come to a meeting and protest what we were talking about, because we were doing exactly what you were asking for tonight. We would probably be driving or riding those vans tonight or today if the original plan had not been hijacked. I am telling you, up until October of last year, everything was on go. Everything was on go for the 2 routes. We were talking about $500 to $1,000 originally, and then all of a sudden it grew, as we added more routes, it grew to $2 million annually. Now, the grant's not forever. It's going to run out in a few years. And as Commissioner Mitchell has mentioned before, when everything comes online, he's going to say, I told you so, because we're talking about $2 million added to the budget. You know what drives your tax rate? The budget. The budget is what drives your tax rate. So if you add $2 million today, you're going to have it here on out. I was always in favor of this. But a lot of conversation was about the seniors and the disabled. Look at the buses. The buses show you that it was directed toward seniors and disabled people mainly. Now, when you have public transportation, you have to offer it to everybody. But when we start adding more and more length to the routes, it's going to cause crowded buses for the elderly and the seniors. But one thing that we were looking at also that would have benefited the whole county was a flex bus system or a dial-a-ride. In other words, a senior has a doctor's appointment, they could have called and had a reservation for the bus to pick them up to take them to the hospital or take them to their doctor's office. That would have helped every senior citizen in Douglas County if they needed transportation. Let me just say that the new routes is better than the 4 routes that was presented by ARC when MARTA was brought to the table unknowingly. MARTA was brought to the table. And so if however, it does not address anything on the western side of the county or the southern end of the county. We have seniors too. We have needs too. That's why the dial-a-ride would have been wonderful. We haven't implemented that. And it's not even being talked about if we can afford these 4 routes. You do not go out, when you graduate from college, you do not go out and buy a $1 million house if you can't afford it. You start out with what we call a starter home. You start small. And that was the original plan. We were going to start small. It was going to be 12 miles long. It was going to be 2 buses, and it was every hour on the hour. But where is the flex system? Where's the dial-a-ride system? We have kicked the seniors off this bus. We need to start small. Carroll County has started small. They're doing it the right way. We were on the right track to do it the right way. It got hijacked. MARTA was brought to the table. But anyway, when MARTA came to the table, that's when it all blew up. Everything blew up after MARTA was secretly brought to the table. So I'm just saying we need to breathe. We need to take a long breath. We need to sit back, and we need to say, we all need to have input. The public, this last-minute tactic was to distract the public and confuse the public. They don't want you at the table, I'm telling you. They don't want the public at the table. Because how can we re-educate everybody in 2 weeks? And I would recommend that we wait a month so we can have a night meeting and have a bigger turnout. And so I'm going to yield back, but start small. You don't jump in the pond over your head, because DeKalb County, when they started their system and it got too big, they had to turn it over to MARTA. MARTA came in, and guess what? They have a MARTA tax. That's what is going to happen here if we get too big for our britches. We need to start small. We need to address the people. It was mainly directed toward the seniors, the disabled. Sure, the students can ride it, but if we open it up too big, then we're going to be pushing those very people off the bus. It's not going to be for them. Let us just sit back. We don't have to take this money. We could do this ourselves. We've already got the buses. So we can do it ourselves. We don't have to obligate this county to an additional $2 million budget from here on out. And I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider, for your input. On the dial-a-ride that's associated, Director Watson, is that part of the grant process? I believe the dial-a-ride is already part of it. Am I correct? I'm just trying to respond to some of the questions that Commissioner Guider had.
There is a dial-a-ride component to fixed route. However, it's only You have to qualify for it by being a senior or a disabled.
Yeah.
And it's only within 3/4 of a mile of the route. What Commissioner Goddard is talking about, it's a true dial-a-ride demand response to where it would be open to anybody in the county. Now, I will say this, going back to our transportation services study, we had about 15 recommendations in that study. The top recommendation was the fixed route bus service. The second recommendation was the dial-a-ride demand response service countywide. Now, that I'm speaking only for myself now, certainly not for any of the board. It would be my goal, my vision, that once we get the fixed route bus service in place, that we would immediately start working on getting the dial-a-ride service implemented.
Yeah, I believe we've had those discussions. And also, the routes, I believe you sent an email to ERC and asked the question. The routes all will not start at one time. They could be stair-step. Could you talk about the process for the routes?
That's what there's been so much debate on that. I asked them if we could start out with less than 4 routes or if we could phase the routes in. Their answer on that was yes. And then I asked them if we could cut back on the H.E. Holmes route. And their answer on that was yes.
Yes.
I would want to point out, though, that if we start cutting back on the routes, say we keep the 2 Douglasville routes and the Thornton Road route, but we don't do the express route from Douglasville to Thornton Road, then we don't have that connectivity from Douglasville, especially the north side of Douglasville, to be able to get to Thornton Road and Riverside Parkway for those jobs.
Right, and connectivity is essential and
Yes,
key.
ma'am.
Any other comment from the Board of Commissioners for Commissioner Mitchell? Mulcair, Commissioner Mulcair.
Yeah, I was not prepared because I thought this item was going to be tabled, but I'll play along, and my remarks will be very, very brief. I did have concern about going outside, going regional, about Douglas County footing the bill for going on to basically a regional platform. So I think this modification is welcome, but I also concur that it's a considerable expanse from what the original intent was, and that was the 2+1 routes, and that's the 2 Douglasville routes, and then the Thornton Road route, which got a lot of discussion. I'm going to need to really delve into the finances, because this transit system doesn't operate in a vacuum. As Commissioner Guyder alluded to, it has budget impact. We have other things we have to address in the county. So I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm just not sure it's enough, and I'm not sure if the time is right. So I'll yield back.
Okay. Any other comment?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner
Yes.
Mitchell.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me first say thank you to the citizens for at least coming out and let it be heard as to your opposition and those that are for what this is all about. As stated, for those of you who may have not noticed yesterday, this is the reasoning why I think that I recommended that we pause, because the problem is I haven't had a chance to read the 100-page report as to the information that we got here. When this process started, you're right, it started as a 2-route system, and it evolved into where it is today, and will evolve even more. I also challenge the Transportation Committee to take a harder, stiff look at HB 930, because that's going to have an impact as to however it's delivered to the public from a vote perspective, and however it's delivered to us by being a part of the 13-county metropolitan. So, and again, also, for those citizens, I'll tell you, I get your emails, I read your emails, I acknowledge that some of them have a lot of great things that are with it, within the emails, and there are some things that are not quite there yet. But I'll also add this too, though. Gary, and some of these things we talked about yesterday, though, one of which, if you'll kind of help me out at the podium, if you would, please. Because there's a lot being said, but I want to make sure I'm factual and about transparency and about the whole entire process. I don't want anyone to ever think, at least Commissioner Mitchell, do any backroom deals. The process is the process, whether you agree or not, but the facts are the facts. One of which, as stated earlier, the chairman, Madam Chair, and Mayor Robinson both sit on the ARC committee, or board, or the ARC board, I guess I would call it, correct?
Yes, sir.
There are also individuals, see, because I keep hearing nobody knew, and I can't buy that nobody knew. But, so they sit on that board. On top of that, there are also staff that don't sit on the board, but they also understand where the board has agreed to move in whatever direction that this particular system may or may not be, correct?
Correct.
I don't expect you, Gary, to come back and bring me the info. Oh, let me back up. I expect you to send the information back, and Mark and all of this kind of come to us and decipher to us. But I think it's our job as public officials to seek the information versus waiting till the information kind of get to us. I've already reached out to our state representative, our senators and others, in reference to Bill HB 930. I can't speak for my colleagues as to how they're taking this and what severity they're taking this on. However, I think that's going to have a huge impact on any system, whether it's this system or anyone that's a part of that 13-county metropolitan. Would you say so, or would you not? Help me with that part of it first.
I think it's too early to tell just how impactful this legislation is going to be.
Correct.
It will have an impact, but I don't know how strong that impact will be going forward.
But I hope, Madam Chair, would take the leadership role and request that the Transportation Committee Chair, Vice Chair Robinson, take a serious look at that and that whole bill and what it might entail. That way, when it does happen, it will happen, but when it happens, we'll at least be ahead of the curve. But the initial part of this conversation was more about who knew, who didn't know, because that's kind of sort of being said a lot, and I just beg to differ. For those officials who didn't know, I blame you for not representing your constituency versus I wasn't told, because this conversation has been had even in the evolution, how it evolved from 2015 until now. So I just don't quite buy that piece of it. The moral of the story is this. We did a poor job in leadership on being open and honest and fair with the citizens of Douglas County. We did a process that should have been, which I think we're trying to be what I call open, but any backroom deals that may have been had, it was not a backroom deal that Commissioner Mitchell created. But however it happened, whoever made it, it was a dishonesty to the constituents that are sitting here today and the citizens of Douglas County. So yes, poor job, but is the program and the actual system itself worthy enough, is the question, worthy enough to do and be a great representation of Douglas County? That's what's important. So I've got to read the docs and get factual. I've got to read all the documents to make sure that whatever the vote that's being cast, and I hope my colleagues are doing the same thing, that it's sincerely good for the citizens of Douglas County, not personal to who's right or wrong, or who makes the most, or in my neighborhood or not. I hope it's not that kind of a vote. I hope it's for the best and the better interest of those here in Douglas County. I'm a little, as I stated earlier, disappointed. And I'm hoping that Vice Chair Robinson and Madam Chair pull this item to the latter part of our next meeting, or I would say table it as requested earlier, so that we all can have a fair shot at what this really is. And also, I don't even know how many of the general public had a chance to not only download this, print it, read it, and understand what this looks like. So I need the time. And I'm hoping that that's what happens here in this particular moment, that we have the time, not only for the debate, but more about the process, the transparency and the lack of transparency, and what the documents all entail. And once we get the facts, then let's make a decision as to what that is, whether it's for the CMAQ grant or not. And last but not least, the CMAQ grant and this whole process, once we vote on the CMAQ grant, that doesn't it qualifies you for the funds, correct?
Correct. But there's still an application process to go through.
And in that application process, please explain to the general public once again, you may have already did this and I may have been asleep at the helm, that process now will entail, as I've noticed, a couple of different routes, possibilities, a couple of different, does that have any effect with the finances?
No, sir. We had our consultant to look at the 4 previous routes that we had proposed compared to this new version of the Route 100, where we do not go into HE homes. The cost differential is very minimal in them, so the grant budget will not be changed at all.
But to ensure a regional connectivity of this, that's the piece that we're trying to now take to Thornton Road versus Hamilton Homes, if I'm hearing you correctly.
We feel like after discussions with Cobb County that we can provide that regional connectivity through Cobb Link as opposed to us providing it ourselves.
Ourselves through Hamilton Homes?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
I just want that for clarity. So, on that note, I just think this process has been drooling, somewhat at times unfair. And that lack of transparency, because I don't think anyone here, I can just say, I don't think that the system is of disapproval. It's more of the process of not knowing all of what happened, who was on first, and why and what we're doing, and who's making changes. That's not to say they're fair or not, but who and how these changes are made, and put them back on the table so the general public can kind of say, I like that or I don't like it. That's the part that concerns me. And that's the part I think that's disappointing, that this board got to that point without being fair, open, transparent, and honest. So I'm not going to go through this long dissertation, but I must say, though, great work on what I've read thus far, but I haven't gotten through the 100 pages since yesterday. I don't know how many of you have. I read a little slow, but I'll get there. And then at that point in time, I think we can all understand whether this is for or against. We can all kind of move forward in whatever direction that is. So I hope that we can kind of do that much, at least Madam Chair and Vice Chair Robinson and Chair of the Transportation Committee, that we really, kind of push pause and make sure that what that's within these documents, you're surely understand that it's either what you thought it was or not, and then move forward. For that, I'll yield, and yield the floor back to you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments before I move, call for tape? Commissioner Robinson and then Commissioner Guy.
Yeah, and I'm just going to keep this really simple. And again, there's a lot of messaging in here for the public, and we'll just be simple. The suggestion that the process is flawed, it's somewhat inaccurate. You've got to work through this. If the goal was economic development to begin with, as part of our market assessment needs, right, transportation was tied to that. There was 5 categories of needs, right? Seniors, disabled, part-time workers, millennials, and those with cars, 1 car, right? So here's how this works. This is important as we shifted administrations. What one administration started with by way of seniors and disabled wasn't what I cast my vote toward. So we all have to see, if you're looking at something, say, okay, how can I get behind this bus system that the prior administration put forth? It's like, ooh, I think Riverside is important. It has never been only 2 routes. Riverside was always there because, again, if you're trying to promote economic development, you can't get there by just running around in the mall with retail jobs. Riverside Thornton is the economic engine. It adds tremendously to the county's tax digest, bar none. Not the mall, but that area. It drives it. Okay, that's first point. Second point is, again, how we get there is through growth. We're in a very good place financially. We are not broke. I'm interested that no one said that. They're looting, oh, this, that, and oh, the sky's falling. The county is not broke. It's steady. 1% to 2% growth. Keep it up with the economy. We know where we're at. Don't bet the farm. Just keep it simple. We had a great credit rating. We've got solid financials. We can absorb this. It's just a function of not could we do it, but should we do it, and would we do it? It's choice. It's discretion. We'll make sure public safety is taken care of. We'll make sure all those things at the end of the day is that, okay, do we do this? Thirdly, when you think about it, again, there is a disparity, right? There's a disparity. But at the end of the day, the question is, are we trying to advance it for everyone? Is there an inclusive voice? This suggestion of, some of the innuendo about north versus south and, hey, can this person travel from this side? It's just like, guys, in trying to meet everyone's need, that's what happened with this whole process is that, okay, let's try to solve the problem because we don't want somebody to come down Camden Street. And I feel that's a travesty to say that that's part of the transportation process. He said, no, it wasn't. Had nothing to do with us. But I think it was trying to acknowledge too prematurely. It's like, okay, y'all didn't have to touch that. Why don't y'all just wait until we got further in the process? Had nothing to do with the Transportation Committee. Let's clarify that. Secondly, as it relates to the routes, think about what staff said back in October, as Madam Guider said, is that they filled out an application and basically, as an educator, it got an F. They said do over. So they had to go back. In other words, we applied 2 routes for $8 million. It's like, no. So they started over. They came back with 4 routes, and 4 routes only got us $6 million. And it floats us for 3 years. It floats us 3 years, obviously, with a local match. Now, all right, let's keep it simple. We can't absorb this. We can't afford this right now. And yes, we've always said that we want to leverage our local dollars to go get state and federal dollars. It's competitive. So we beat out counties and cities and 49 other states and territories. We got this money. We were good with that, right? So that's important. So again, things shift. It wasn't just senior and disabled. It's like, okay, but what about everybody else? What about this big group of millennials that is coming online? Everybody is not going to do it the way the greatest generation did or the baby boomers did. The Generation X and the millennials got a whole different viewpoint. And I'm saying everybody should be acknowledged in the equation. It's not either or, it's both, which brings me to my last point. I get the fear of this whole MARTA, don't bring MARTA here thing. And I've always said from day one, whether I was on NPR or on TV, that says, look, I recognize that we're a bedroom community. My district is pretty much, Commissioner Robinson, we moved over here because, we like a little bit slow and stuff, but can I get some street lights? Can I get some sidewalks, right? Different need. Part of this county want to remain rural. They don't want that, but part of the county does. So is it either or is it both? And I think we can maintain, I give Commissioner Mulcair credit as always on this one. The character areas of our county are very different. And they can coexist, right? And so I think there's a matter of like, okay, well, let's frame this right. So yes, it was in my best interest to go talk to Cherokee County. I don't need permission to talk to anyone as an elected official. Cherokee County, Cobb County, Carroll County, Martyr, Clayton County. Yes, I want the facts. The lady mentioned earlier about Mercedes. Yes, I want to see what the C-Class costs, E-Class, S-Class, and AMG. All right, now let's look at what all of these elements mean for us and make the best choice. But I'm educated on it. So I know what I'm looking at, right? So I'm not going to shrink my capacity to go and analyze something because the next person chose not to, right? Last thing about funding, right? We got 3 years. All right, tomorrow, I believe I was asked to go participate in the ATL. It's a meeting downtown. Metro to sort of weigh in. I think I've got another colleague that'll be there as well, Commissioner Mulcair, in which we will get insight on ATL. But that's forward thinking, right? That's 3 years from now. So we've got a short-term pilot. It's a 15-passenger, 13-passenger, small. That was small. It was really asked to start with 50 passengers. I'm like, absolutely not. I made that call. Now let's start the smallest bus we got, and we grow from there. Right? There is nothing smaller. Right? We start there. And now this long-term funding, that of course at some point we're going to have to go long-term funding. But here's the thing, and I have no problem putting it out there that says, okay, 3 years is up. All right, so now, okay, think about it right now. We got 4 routes for $2 million. And if we go, and when we get to a point where we need to go higher, and we talk about, some people say, well, why don't you go talk to, why don't you wait to this House Bill 930? Well, here's the thing. MARTA is the operator of that, right? Right? I've been like, okay, they still were the best in the game, and the General Assembly like, no, this is the best this is the best. It didn't change that. I still looked at the best. The General Assembly said, yeah, they're the best. But okay, so now line this up. So if we did a penny splosh, our penny splosh gets us $24 million, what? A year, right? So 24 million, so we go from 2 million to 24 million, that's cash. That's 12, that's 48 routes. Ooh, I don't know quite sure if I would want to go for a whole penny, unless we're going to be doing something else. So that's the impact of what that means for us. We go from a $2 million to actually being able to operate with $24 million in cash and 48 routes. That's this. It's straight math. It's nothing hard. So we have thought about this. We do know what we're doing here. There's no confusion. It's like steady. Now, my peers have to do what they have to do to politic. I have no problem with that. They do what they do. All of us have different citizens that we're talking to, and so in District 2, you know how we roll, right? We just keep it dishonest, right? So with that saying, we know what this is about. At the end of the day, it's going to be choice. At the end of the day, this commission pretty much, they already know what they're going to do. We've got to go through the motion right now. But they're pretty solid, 98% where they're at. And so, again, they can say whatever they want to say, and they eventually will get to that place where we'll actually call it. But for right now, all of this is like, guys, let's just be solid. We get it. We understand. All of y'all know y'all direct commissioners or you're at large, all right? So at the end of the day, you're judging us on what you know we are. We're not inexperienced. Been here, done that. Have earned the right to sit here and be direct and call it. All right, and so with that being said, no, stop. We're okay, guys. Let me close. With that being said, again, it's just everybody has different views. It's okay, it coexists. All right, one person is not superior to other person's views, and nobody else is inferior. Everybody coexists. All right. That being said, I'm going to yield back, Madam Chair, and at any time you want to call it, I will make the motion accordingly. Madam Chair, I yield.
I believe you had something to say quickly, Commissioner Guider, and then
I just want to add a couple of points. We already have Greta buses out here. I think there's around 11 routes that go to Atlanta every day during the peak season, the peak time of the day, for the workers that's going into Atlanta. We have van pools. We have about 40 van pools where they go in different areas. They even go to the Alabama line. And part of the plan originally was to add to that, add Greta buses to the airport and things like that. Let me just say that the finances of those two programs, Greta and Vanpoo, the revenues are down 45% since 2014. In other words, people aren't using them. So why are we talking about adding so many more routes? Why don't we start small? I have never had my house repoed. I have never had anything repossessed because I started small. Thank you. So we need to keep it logical. You do not go with a huge system that you don't know whether or not you can afford, because these estimates for the Greta buses and the Vanpoo have been wrong for several years. The ridership is not there. And I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. This time, Commissioner Robeson, would you please call for a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we table this meeting to exactly 10 a.m. on Tuesday, August 7th, to continue the debate and ultimate vote on to move forward with the buses as recommended in today's item.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare. Can we cast our votes? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Motion? Aye. I'm assuming everybody said yes, okay. The motion carries 5-0. So this item has been tabled until August 7th at 10 a.m., and we will reconvene to discuss this item. Okay, let's move. I would like to pull one of our items off, which is on the consent agenda. I want to do this before I start the meeting back, which is tab number 8. Right now, I'll be putting this item under new business. I'd like to make a motion to pull tab number 8 out of the consent agenda and to place it in the new business category as attached.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, so we're moving, so it is now tab number 5. We'll pause for a second to allow everyone to exit the meeting. Mm-hmm.
What are we pulling out? I'm sorry.
Tab number 8. I'm moving it to number 5. It'll be number 5. Per the attorney. He asked me to move it. Okay. Okay. Yes, under new business. New business.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just for convenience of tracking, the numbers will stay the same. You just have moved item 5 to under new business 5, 6, and it'll be 8. And then you'll go back to your consent agenda when you conclude the new business.
I had already numbered it a little bit.
Okay, that way the numbers don't get messed up.
Okay. You need some clarification, Commissioner? You okay?
I'll go with you.
Are we ready to vote?
No, I hadn't read it yet. I was just trying to allow everyone to exit the room that was interested in leaving. Okay. Please note that I converted tab number 8 to, it is now tab number 5. Okay. Under new business, we have authorization to adopt a resolution to award the lease purchase agreement for the financing of certain energy savings equipment and amend the budget and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Board of Commissioners, you have heard this.
Madam Chair, we need to add some information to this.
Okay.
The reason why we pulled it out, Madam Chair, you have David Corbin from Terminus here, Michelle Green from Finance, and Ben Vernon from Murray Barnes Finister. This is a resolution authorizing execution of a lease purchase and funding agreement with a proposed awardee based upon Terminus going out to the market to bring you back proposals. So I think they will, David, are you going to have some announcements that have gone through finance already?
Yeah.
Yeah. Madam Chair, if you want to hear from David, he's here.
Yeah, Mr. Corbin, will you please come forward, Mr. Corbin, and also Michelle Green, if you could just be available. Come on.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Speaking.
Oh, sure. This financing that this lease purchase agreement that we bid out on behalf of the county is consistent with an energy services contract with Amoresco that you approved, I think, several months ago. The beautiful thing about this is we went out for bid. We sent an RFP out to about 30 different financial institutions. We got 10 positive responses back. The interest rate that you're going to receive is approximately 3.2%, which is about 20 basis points higher than what the federal government itself can borrow, which is a statement as to how good the credit of the county currently is at this point in time. The other benefit about it is based on the low interest rate you got, we do believe that the savings that you're going to generate from the guaranteed savings that you're going to get from the implementation of the project cost should offset the debt service almost dollar for dollar over the life of the contract. So I'm here to answer any other questions that you may have. Bank of America was the lowest bid out of the 10 that we received, and what you're approving tonight is the contract to move forward with that bid, the award of that bid.
Okay, any questions from the Board of Commissioners?
Just one, Madam Chair.
Vice Chairman Robinson.
Just one for clarity, and whether you or Madam Green can speak to. Out of the 30 people that we identified and sent out, how many did we touch people that are typically local to Douglas County? I mean, again, because you facilitated this on our behalf, so that kept it third party, kept it arm's length removed. When you did that placement solicitation, who did you target? I mean, what was the population?
That list, the 30, of that 30, approximately half of those proponents we received them from your purchasing department.
Okay.
So any vendor that may have come through your purchasing department or your finance department at one time or another, we actually adopted, we took that list and then added it to additional ones that we had as well. So about 50% of them came from all of the lists that you provided us,
yes,
plus we added an additional 15.
All of the local banks were on that list.
Okay.
That's what I was looking for, Madam Chair, just making sure we didn't neglect or be remiss in at least notifying our local. I yield.
Okay. Commissioner Guyder.
Yes, how much is this lease agreement for?
$2 million.
How much? I'm sorry?
$2.2 million.
I thought you said 10.
No, 2.2 million.
And this is for an energy study, or they're going to go around and say we need to change these light bulbs and...
Based on what I know, that assessment has already been completed. Money will be used to purchase the equipment to fulfill the needs that came out of the study.
Madam Chair, I can add to that if need
Yes,
be.
please.
Amoresco is doing the energy savings over a period of time. They were going to finance this at y'all's request. Y'all wanted to pull out the financing and go to the market to see if you could get a better deal. And that's what Terminus has gone to the market. So rather than the equipment being financed by Amoresco, we're awarding it tonight by virtue of this, assuming the resolution passed. The authority is granted by this board to Bank of America Public Capital Corp.
I yield back.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Mitchell.
And maybe not to the gentleman, but to Mark and a few others. For my clarity, I move a little slow sometimes. For my clarity, this is the Amoresco that I didn't support, but we pulled out Boundary Waters, and the makeup, that number went from 2.8 or something like that down to 2.2 or something. And you may not know the answer to this. I think Mark or somebody could help me out with that.
Yes, that's correct. We pulled out part of the work at Boundary Waters, the part that had to do with the chlorination system.
Right. And now we're at this number of 2.2 mil.
Yes, sir.
as to what you went out and found some finances and made it look nice and pretty.
Well, to be quite honest, it is, I think it's much better than what the equipment financer was going to provide to you.
Right. See, the struggle with me on this is that I probably need to get on board based on the mere fact that I didn't vote for Amorisco in this whole process. Not that the process was wrong. It was just that what they were trying to accomplish, I felt we could do something different. But it passed. I don't remember exactly what, but I know it wasn't one of my votes. But now I'm just trying to embrace and understand that that train has left the station. Now we've got this project that we've got to deal with at $1. And what was the rate that you say you got it? That if this?
It's 3.22%.
3.22.
That's fixed for 15 years.
Fixed for 15 years, got it. And see, I think that's the part I understand. And I just got to kind of understand, why do I? You know, even though I didn't initially support the project, you know, but I dib and dab in finances, and I know those numbers looks definitely good for a project of this caliber with that amount of money to kind of pull off. What would be the amount in the event once we did this 15-year fix at 3.2? What's the? I mean, hopefully the savings will pay off to help us. And I don't know if you know the answer to that question, but what would be the end result of that 15-year dollar amount that cost us in that 3%
Yeah,
rate?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but I can get it for you, though.
Okay.
But according to the project, it's supposed to be net zero.
Right, right. If they do, and see, the part I didn't kind of agree with, it's some of the projects that they want to kind of deal with on the age of the project or the items, you know, versus some of the newer stuff. Heck, I can see that being a savings. But some of the older stuff, you know, it just didn't kind of fit in the realm of what I thought it should be.
And according to the contract, supposedly if we don't see those energy savings, Amorisco writes us a check for that amount.
So this is a guaranteed, is what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah, and I want to be careful about, I don't want to mislead anybody about what guarantee means, and James Worthington's here that negotiated it. Guarantee means assuming certain factors and us staying within a certain range on properties we own. If we added a bunch of property, you know, there are variables that could affect the guarantee. But if things stay consistent based on the projections that James Worthington checked the specs on, it's supposed to be a neutral deal.
Well, James, you might want to come forth, but while you're coming up. So here are hypothetically, the items that we've got on the docket. That shouldn't change, I would say, correct?
That's correct. So the scope of work was approved by the board, so that scope won't change now.
Excluding me, though, but go ahead. Okay.
Correct.
And
okay.
me.
But it was
Yeah,
approved.
it approved by vote, so the scope won't change now. The scope changed a little bit prior to that on the hypochlorite system, but that's set now.
Right. So even if we did, based on if we did add to, adjust, or whatever the case may be, yes, I can see that could be but we can't really, could we, or are we allowed based on the contract, are we able to do that?
So we wouldn't be adding or subtracting anything away from the scope now, because the way the project is designed is to be net zero.
Right.
So they
based on
calculate
all the items we got within that scope.
Correct.
Okay.
If we want to add different aspects to it or different buildings to it that weren't involved, it'll be a separate phase or a separate project.
The other variables would be things like, and James, correct me if I'm wrong, we go through an extended winter where we have extreme cold temperatures over a norm, because they measured a norm, did they not, James? And if it was outside that norm, it could affect the dial temperatures on your stuff like that. Or if the summertime range of temperatures changed dramatically over a period of time, it could affect the range, because what they did is they normalized a period of time and said, these are our projections. If you go outside those projections, then the guarantee is soft. But I will say where we are now, Commissioner Mitchell, is we don't have a choice. We got to fund the equipment
And I
because we're
agree.
under contract.
And that's where you see what I'm getting,
Yeah.
I'm getting hung up at is, yes, we have to fund it. So it's no fault of yours. It's the idea of what we are funding and that earlier stage of, I saw better versus what we're actually doing. So, and again, it's no job well done. You've done a great job, but, okay, I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
So, Madam Chair, if there's a motion.
It is.
The motion would include the award to Bank of America Public Capital Corp.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure the record's clean about what y'all are making a motion about.
May I ask one question?
You can, please.
This is directed at legal. I know a little bit about bankruptcy laws. Does this protect us from them going bankrupt and leaving us with a?
Well, what's your Bank of America, I don't believe, well, Bank of America's got a leasehold interest, just like if you went through.
I'm talking about the guaranteed part.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I mean, we would, but what you're financing here is tangible. It's equipment that's going to be in your facilities. And so to the extent that if Amoresco went belly up the day after we buy the equipment and it's installed, your deal's with Bank of America, not Amoresco. While they could bankrupt or discharge their obligations concerning controlling or measuring or whatever they do, we still would own the equipment via the lease purchase program, if that makes sense. In other words, the bank controls it for purposes of financing under Georgia law. Once it's paid off, it's ours. So the only consideration about Amoresco being bankrupt would be we still would have the equipment tied to Bank of America, not Amoresco anymore, if that makes sense.
But if there was no savings and they went bankrupt, then we wouldn't.
You bought the equipment for 2.2 and some change.
We bought equipment we may not have needed. So anyway, thank you.
Okay. All right, we have a motion. Thank you all so much. Any other questions before I ask the gentleman to be seated? Thank you so much. Board, we have a motion and a second to.
Has it been motioned?
Madam Chair, I don't think we had a motion.
I didn't make a motion yet. I would like to make a motion to authorize to adopt a resolution to award the lease purchase agreement for the financing of Bank of America for this energy savings equipment and amend the budget and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion? You said so moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please cast your votes.
Since it's been pulled out, you may have to take a hand vote, Madam Chair.
It's
Pulled out
here.
the consent agenda. Lisa, will your computer work it?
Yes, it'll be fine.
Okay.
It's working.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners, for casting your votes. The results should appear on the screens in just a second.
That'll work.
How do I do that again? Make it come up again.
Yeah, mine went to sleep.
Can you make it come back up?
Okay, we have the votes. Let's see. Wow. We have three, so the motion carries. We have three, it says yes, one no, Commissioner Mitchell, and one abstain, Commissioner Guider. Thank you, the motion carries. Let's move to tab number 6 is an appointment of Melissa Osei as resident commissioner to the Douglas County Housing Authority effective immediately. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to move forward with making Melissa Osei resident commissioner again for the Housing Authority here in Douglas County?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please prepare to cast your votes. All in favor or of the vote? Votes have been cast. We should have results in a second.
I didn't save it.
Okay, we have a unanimous vote. It's 5-0. The motion carries. Tab number 7, resolution authorized.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Are we at the consent agenda
Yeah,
yet?
I'm gonna call that in a second for, no, I'm not on the consent
No,
yet.
right. You're on
I'm
the
not,
consent.
I'm still on the new business.
Right.
I don't have a number 7.
I'm still on the new business. Tab number 7 is resolution authorizing the filing of condemnation petition to acquire the required right-of-way and easements on parcel 042418200010 for the purpose of facilitating the construction of a roadway improvement project. Board of Commissioners, you have heard this resolution. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. Please cast your votes. Votes should appear in just a second. Okay, the motion carries. It's 5-0. It's a unanimous vote. Next, we have the consent agenda, but before we go forward, I believe Commissioner Guider would like to pull an item out. Would you please make a motion, Commissioner Guider?
Yes, ma'am, and I apologize for the lateness of this, but yesterday was a long meeting, and nature did call. So I had to, I left the room, so when this item came up, and I would like for it to be placed into new business rather than an agenda item. Number 18, authorization for the chairman to execute a part-time contract for the deputy coroner, Nathan Womack.
Okay.
I make a motion.
Okay. We have a motion to move tab number 18 to under new business. So do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion before I move it? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. I believe this is one we had. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I guess it's 5-0. Did you say anything, Commissioner?
No,
5. Okay, I just want to make sure. Sometimes if I don't
You're
hear
fine,
you, I
ma'am.
want to make sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we will move this
Excuse me, Madam
item,
Chair.
tab number 18.
Madam Chair, so you saying all that was for moving it,
Yes.
but all against? So you
No, I
guys.
just said all for,
Right, but there's also the Navy.
all opposed. Okay, I'm
Okay.
sorry, all opposed.
Yes.
Same, so we have 4-1. I'm so sorry,
Okay.
Commissioner.
All right.
Okay, all opposed, and it's 4-1.
asked for an explanation. I didn't understand.
Right.
Madam Chair,
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. Are we ready? So we have now moved this, tab number 18 has been moved to new business.
And Madam Chair, for purposes of clerk, I would not recommend changing the numbers. Just keep identifying it as 18, even though it's been moved.
Okay. 18, authorization for the chairman to execute a part-time contract for Deputy Coroner Nathan Womack. Board of Commissioners, you've heard this authorization for me to move forward to execute a part-time contract. Do we have a motion to approve? Let me try it again. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve this authorization for the chairman to execute a part-time contract for Deputy Coroner Nathan Womack?
Madam Chair, point of order?
Yes.
All right, can I get clarity on what this, Ken, one more time for what this is? Or County Administrator?
Yeah, well,
Either
here's what I
one.
think it is. There's a position that someone was released down there. This position is filling that position, is what I understand.
Mhm.
The contract is identical to the other deputies as far as how they're it's the same contract.
All right, and so since I still got, I'll ask a couple questions. So, and I'm going to trust that everything has been fulfilled for it to be before us. In other words, we're not being brought something that hasn't been fully, it's like HR, has it gone through the HR process that would be normally expected of any contractor, any person in this county? That's a simple question.
Director Perry, could you please come forward? And he could respond to that. Thank you. Mhm. Thank you, Director Perry.
Madam Chair and the Commissioners, that's a contract, and the individual has gone through the process. His background has been checked. He has been drug tested. And every test that we run on a normal candidate, this individual has gone through.
Any other questions for HR Director? He said this person has checked out. You said he's checked, he said passed all the, you said a drug test, what else did you mention?
His background check has been
Background check.
ran as well.
Okay, and he's gone through the human resources process?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And the specific role that this person will do is there, I won't say a mover or investigate. I mean, what is the function one more time? Or is it a universal worker, or is it, I just need this person to just do this? Do you know yet?
Well, he will serve as deputy coroner.
Okay.
So he will serve at the pleasure of the coroner.
Okay.
And he will do investigations and things of that nature.
All right, I got it. I yield.
Okay. Commissioner Guider?
I don't know if this is the proper time to just say this. Why I wanted it moved is just because of the pending legal against the office.
Okay.
I can sort of address that. I have no idea what, other than what I've read in reports and heard, but I can't speak to what the pending legal is. What I can say is this: under Title 45, the coroner can choose her employees, that slots that y'all have given her or him. She's chosen this person, and how this comes to us not because human resource apparently it sounds like has done its peripheral testing or whatever that is, but it's her prerogative to send people over here to be confirmed. Now, I will tell you the coroner disagrees with whether or not they have to be under contract, but I have had a conversation with her that we want people under contract, so it explains how they get paid, it explains their part-time and what benefits apply, because myself, legal and human resource want to know how these people are employed in their files. And so while she doesn't really like these contracts, she's acquiesced that this person would be subject to a contract, and that's all I can say about that. But she's still the coroner, regardless of allegations, until she's no longer the coroner. And so she can send people over here to hire, just like the sheriff. Well, I won't say that because it's a little bit different. But y'all, by virtue of the local legislation, have to confirm third-party agreements with anybody, and that's why it's before you.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Did you get an understanding, Commissioner? Okay. Do we have a motion to authorize for the chairman to execute a replacement part-time contract, a replacement part-time contract for Deputy Coroner Nathan Womack?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Okay, so I do just for clarity. Okay, so we got a motion and a second, but this has no impact, and I don't know, oh, Mark, that'd probably be for you. This has no impact on our budget because it's just it's a wash, correct?
Yes, it is a new deputy replacing a previous deputy.
Got it. And so there's no impact on our budget. Nothing has changed outside of personnel, I guess it would be.
That's correct.
Okay. I yield back.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Well, no, you got, no.
Oh, we can do it? Okay.
Yes.
'Cause I didn't know she was prepared on this one.
So
Please prepare to cast your votes
Thank you.
electronically.
Yep.
Because I pulled this one off and I'm able to keep
Okay.
up. Waiting on the votes to calculate. We have 4-1, and the motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll move to our consent agenda. Please note all items are subject to final legal review, and we will move to those items. Tab number 8, resolution authorizing the closing of the sale of the old jail to the city of Douglasville. Tab number 9, authorization to approve a lease agreement with Cornerstone Baptist Church for the lease of a house to be used for housing homeless participants in the felony drug court program as part of Sanctuary Village, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 10, authorization to approve the SFY 2019 Aging Services Contract with the Atlanta Regional Commission, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 11, authorization to accept funds from the Bureau of Justice Assistance Office in the amount of $16,187 to be used to assist children and the youth involved in the Douglas Link program to provide support services and extracurricular activities for children and youth that have severe mental health issues, and amend the budget. There is no match required. Tab number 12, authorization to approve an intergovernmental agreement between Douglas County, the City of Douglasville, and Cobb County for an 800 megahertz digital radio system, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 13, authorization to amend current agreement with Image Trend for integration with Target Solutions Learning Portal for continuing education portal for the fire department at a cost of $3,000 to be funded with SPLOST funds reimbursed from the City of Douglasville, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 14, authorization to award a contract to Titus Construction, LLC, for the renovation of Fire Station number 3 for the total cost of $442,894, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 15, authorization to approve a contract with Carter Watkins Associates Architects for the design and engineering of the tennis courts at Deer Lick Park, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 16, authorization to apply for the hazard mitigation grant for the next update to the multi-jurisdiction hazard mitigation plan, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 17, authorization to amend the sheriff's office budget by $494,949 for a donation received from Telmate LLC for the purchase of a new polygraph machine. Board of Commissioners, that concludes our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any particular item on the consent agenda? Okay, we have no discussion. Board of Commissioners, we have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes for this consent agenda.
Yes, yes.
Waiting on the.
Waiting on
to
me?
calculate. Oh, yeah, we're waiting on you, Commissioner.
Got it.
Okay, okay. We have a unanimous vote to approve the consent agenda. Next, we have the approval of expenses. Board of Commissioners, you have your approval of your expenses here. I know you've had an opportunity to look at those expenses. Are there any questions regarding your expenses before I call for a motion to approve? Do we have a motion to approve the expenses?
So move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes for these approval of the expenses for this month. We have a unanimous vote, 5-0 vote for the approval of our expenses. Next, we have the announcements. I will ask our Communications Director, Rick Martin, please come forward and read these two announcements for us.
Madam Chair, while Rick's coming forward, there was one of the documents that's going to require all of y'all's signature. Lisa has, before you leave, please see her. Okay. There's another document that Ben Vernon has and Michelle has related to the funding agreement that we're going to need the chairman and Lisa to sign. So please, Commissioner, sign that before you leave. It's dealing with the closing on the old jail. It's about to happen, and we need y'all's signature.
Thank you so much, Attorney.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Board of Commissioners and county staff. Two announcements to make. First one is there'll be a behavioral health community engagement information session tomorrow evening at 6:30 right here in Citizens Hall. Session will be facilitated by Dr. Felicia Berry Mitchell. For more information, please contact Tiffany Stewart Stanley at 770-920-7436. Second event, Keep Douglas County Beautiful and Keep Douglasville Beautiful are now accepting volunteers for the Douglas County Community Cleanup that's happening at Arbor Place Mall from 9 a.m. to 12 noon on July 28th. If anyone is interested in volunteering, they're asked to contact the Department of External Affairs, and they can email Tiffany Stewart Stanley at tstewart.stanley@co.douglas.ga.us.
Thank you so much, Director Martin. I just would like to extend an opportunity for my commissioners if they have individual announcements. Commissioner Mulcair.
Yes, would Chief Spencer and our EOC Director, Mulholland, please come up, please. And I'll give a preface here. A pretty exciting event tomorrow. It has to do with an active shooter drill, something that Douglas County is being very proactive in. I'm gonna just let these two gentlemen explain a little bit about what's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm going to make this statement. Avoid Mason Creek Road from noon until about 3 o'clock or mid-afternoon. Avoid Mason Creek.
About 4, yeah.
The various agencies, Douglas County Sheriff's Office, City of Douglas Police Department, Douglas County Fire EMS, Georgia Emergency Management, the Douglas County Board of Education, Douglas Wellstar, I hope I'm not forgetting about it, and actually Carroll County are going to be participating in an active shooter drill at Mason Creek Middle School. It's been in a planning process for the last 6 or 7 months. We've actually done a tabletop with everybody sitting down and going over it. So this is putting it in full motion to see how everything goes through and see where we can learn to make improvements, and everybody give it some practice runs for all the different agencies. And I hope I've not left anybody out that's participated and done so much work on it, because this has been a lot of work has been put into this to make sure it goes on to get ready to test us and see where we're at.
Chief, you have anything you want to add?
Just saying we're looking forward to it. Yeah, there has been a whole lot of work gone into it. My hat's off to all the planners that have planned this exercise for us. The only person or the only group that I can think of that wasn't mentioned is Air Methods helicopter.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll actually be landing a helicopter out there.
And one other, Chick-fil-A is also helping us feed everybody, because we'll have about 250 to 300 people out there involved in this tomorrow. So they're providing a lot of meals really, that's a great expense when you think about it. So I appreciate them tremendously.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. And to repeat, everyone should avoid driving Mason Creek from, let's say, 12 to 4.
Yeah, yes.
Just avoid Mason
And
Creek.
one we did forget is 911, and I'd be remiss. They get left out a lot because they're over there behind the scenes and everything.
Yeah.
They're an important public safety agency that does get overlooked.
Okay.
We couldn't do it without them.
All right, and I want to bring y'all up as chair of the Public Safety Committee. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other announcements from Board of Commissioners? Commissioner Robinson?
Madam Chair, and I think it's just to clarify previous comments that were made about Commissioner Mulcair's presence at the meeting tomorrow at ATL. Looks like I'll be representing the county solely because you guys will be here running that event. Is that accurate?
That's it.
All right, I just want to make sure I clarify
Wish
that.
I could be two places.
I apologize. Thank you.
Commissioner Guider? I believe you have.
Yeah, I just want to announce that tomorrow I will attend an opioid epidemic little seminar over at Wellstar Cobb Hospital, and hopefully I'll learn a little something, bring it back, and we can help fight it here in Douglas County. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other further announcements, again, thank you all for participating in local government. With this agenda being satisfied, this meeting is adjourned.
Not bad. Not bad.